A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our dramatization is Morton Wishengrad's The Passover of Rembrandt van Rijn, featuring Leon Janney as Rembrandt. This program marks the Eternal Light's 500th broadcast. Following the dramatized portion of our program, there will be remarks by Judge Edgar J. Nathan and Mr. Davidson Taylor. And now, The Passover of Rembrandt van Rijn.
It was in the year 1659 that Mynheer Jacob van Kampen was delegated by the Venerable Council of the city of Amsterdam to propose a new commission to the painter Rembrandt van Rijn. Bearing in mind that Rembrandt was a consummate painter, Mynheer van Kampen had the forethought to put on his best suit of clothes. Remembering also that Rembrandt was said to be a notorious wastrel, Mynheer van Kampen selected a stout walking stick. And recollecting finally that through a rare combination of thriftlessness and bad investments, the painter had only recently been declared a bankrupt by the Insolvency Chamber of Amsterdam, Mynheer van Kampen thoughtfully left his wallet at home. Thus equipped, Mynheer van Kampen journeyed to the Keizerskroon hostelry, where he found the painter in his bath.
Hot water. The poor man's pleasure.
My dear Rembrandt, I have something important to discuss with you. Please have the decency to climb out of that tub.
Mynheer van Kampen, it was for the sake of decency that I climbed into the tub. Make yourself useful. Take the brush and scrub my back.
I beg your pardon?
Why, you do something? So there's the brush.
Oh, excuse me. I came to discuss a serious matter. A proposition.
Then scrub between my shoulder blades. I'll be putty in your hands. You'll be able to do anything you want with me. Come, scrub.
This is ridiculous.
Scrub. Mynheer van Kampen, you flatter me. My skin is somewhat tougher than a butterfly's eyelash. Be good enough to scrub a little harder. Van Kampen, I'm not an elephant. Just right. Bit to the left. A little lower. A little more. My dear van Kampen, I have a painter's eye. Have I ever told you that you are a fine figure of a man?
Why, that's...
but don't stop scrubbing. Now, you were saying something about a proposition.
The city council would like a painting for the new town hall.
You've scrubbed enough, thank you. Van Kampen, I always like to have a clear head when important matters are discussed. What's the proposition?
Firstly, that this time you finish your painting on the date we specify.
Do they want it good, or do they want it on Tuesday? The painting is finished when the painting is finished, and I'll say so. What next?
We will select the subject.
You will, eh? Van Kampen, do I tell you how to buy and sell real estate?
No, Rembrandt, but...
I'll paint a subject I consider suitable. I rather fancy something from the Bible.
We thought a large painting of the town council itself would be...
Fantastic. What do you think of Moses bringing down the tablets of the law from the mountain.
Well, I have no opinion on Moses. What we had in mind...
Good.
was
Then we're agreed on the subject. How much?
100 guilders.
Get out.
200 guilders.
You paid 9 million for the town hall. I want 1,000 guilders.
My dear Rembrandt, for an artist, I must say you're quite mercenary.
My dear Van Kampen, if you turn a bit toward me, I can spit directly into your left eye. What do you mean, mercenary? Is an artist less than a stonemason or a carpenter? When my belly is empty, I'm just as hungry as you are. 500 guilders and not a stiver less.
350.
Settled. Now I've got to find a Moses to sit for me.
Rembrandt.
Don't interrupt. I'm thinking.
I'll be glad to pose for you.
You?
You just said that I was a fine figure of a man.
Van Kampen, you have the good-natured, wholesome, earnest face of a vegetable dinner. Now be a friendly vegetable and give me the towel, eh? I've got to find a Moses.
Where are you going to look?
Among the descendants of Moses.
Don't you think it would be more discreet to look among the members of the town council?
Van Kampen, come here.
Yes?
I will tell you a secret.
You will, Rembrandt?
Listen. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses. Jews, every last one of them.
I see what you mean.
I thought you would. Quickly, Van Kampen, my shoes. I've got to find Moses.
In the year 1659, Rembrandt van Rijn went into the streets of Amsterdam in quest of Moses. While the venerable town council waited, Rembrandt searched. Early in the month of April, they deputized Mynheer Jacob van Kampen to visit the painter once again.
I am authorized to inform you that the painter Ferdinand Ball has been invited to submit a sketch.
I've found 3 Jewish scholars, but they're not satisfactory. I've paid 2 visits to Rabbi Manasseh ben Israel, too small for Moses. I've talked to several students, not heroic enough. There's a peddler from Poland, too pale. My dear Van Kampen, I can't lose that commission. I need the money.
Then you'll produce your sketches this week, and you will complete your painting in 10 days.
You're a good fellow, Van Kampen.
10 days, Rembrandt.
I don't paint that way. I've got to find a Moses who looks like Moses. I've got to paint what I feel is true.
You are shouting.
All right. Go back to them and tell them I'll do the best I can.
I shall tell them the painting will be done in 10 days.
Van Kampen, listen. I've been reading the Bible. Moses stood upon the mountain and he talked to God himself. And when Moses came down from the mount, the people ran to him. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face sent forth beams of light, and they were afraid to come near unto him. Van Kampen, that's what I want. Moses holding up a tablet of the law and a light shining from his face. And me almost afraid to paint and you almost afraid to look. Van Kampen, you understand, don't you?
I shall tell them the painting will be done in 10 days.
In the first week of April, Rembrandt van Rijn went into a slum of Amsterdam. On the edge of a canal that carried its cargo of refuse and garbage odorously to the sea, there stood the stall of a bread seller. Within the stall sat a man, white-bearded with white hair crowned by a black skull cap. Before him were piled the enormous loaves of black bread baked after the fashion of Eastern Europe. The bread seller sat there, motionless, impassive, serene.
You sell bread?
I sell bread.
By the pound and by the loaf?
Yes.
I have been standing here for quite some time.
I know.
You do not have many customers.
No, I do not have many customers.
And so it gives you time to read.
If you are finished staring at me, and if you have no more questions, I should like to continue reading.
Please forgive me, but what are you reading?
Very well. I will read it to you. Kablu alechem, malchus shomayim, ve'is nahagu, ze im ze, bignilas chasodim.
What does it mean?
To love God truly, one must first love man.
What is your name?
I am Abram of Lublin. They call me Abram Lubliner.
I am a painter. My name is Rembrandt. They say we came from a place near the Rhine, and so they call me Rembrandt van Rijn. Abram of Lublin, your face is the face of one who wrote 10 words upon 2 tablets of stone. I shall be greatly honored if you will allow me to paint your face.
I have no objections, but first let me give you a piece of bread. It is good bread, Rembrandt.
A pencil is quick. It abstracts from a face that which is hidden in a face, the thing that inspirits the face. Not merely cheekbones that are wide, or a forehead that is high, or the curve of a nose, or the curl of a lip, or the expression of an eye. All these things together, but more. The total of these things, the sum, the essence, the distillation of spirit. A pencil is quick, but a brush goes more slowly. For the brush illuminates because it remembers the dark places. On the 10th day of April in the year 1659, Mynheer Jacob van Kampen returned to the Keizersgroen hostelry.
Is this your Moses?
Not yet.
Well, the paint is dry upon the canvas.
Mynheer van Kampen, a painting isn't finished when the paint is dry.
Well, it looks good enough to me.
I am not satisfied.
Rembrandt, I'm not an artist, but I know what I like.
Van Kampen, this isn't a hen's egg that you're judging for taste. I painted Abram of Lublin. That's not good enough. I want Moses of Sinai and the beam shining from his face.
This is the 10th day.
It isn't good enough.
If it satisfies the council, it will hang in the town hall. I will bring you the 350 guilders.
Oh. Give me another week.
Ferdinand Ball brought his canvas last week. The contract must be respected.
So must the painting. This isn't ready. Look at it, Van Kampen.
I've already told you, Rembrandt. It looks good enough to me.
It needs some inner light.
Well, it's good as it is.
Van Kampen, try to understand me. There was once a Greek sculptor named Phidias. Once a man scolded him because he was working on the back of a statue. Who sees the back? Van Kampen, the gods see the back of this canvas. I've got to satisfy the God in me. I want money. I need it. But you commissioned Moses, and all I've painted is Abram. Tell the council I'm sorry.
They hung a painting by Ferdinand Bol in the town hall of Amsterdam. Mynheer van Kampen took a few guilders from the wallet he had this time remembered to bring and gave them to Rembrandt van Rijn.
It isn't charity. Call it a down payment on the portrait you will make of me. If you'd like, I can sit for you now.
I've treated you like a fool, haven't I?
Oh, you're a great man, Rembrandt. I'm only a merchant.
There's a quality in your face, Van Kampen. It's always been there, I just didn't see. If you let me, I'll paint that quality. But not now. I've got to find what's unique in the face of Abram of Lublin. Then I'll have my Moses.
All art is obsession. It comes forth like a secretion from 1,000 wounds. And this is what the painter etches into copper and spreads over canvas. And until the canvas dries and the work is finally halted, the soul of the artist is morbid with self-hatred. For he knows that the work is only put aside, that it can never be done, that the best he can attain is a truce, but never victory. In the 3rd week in April, 1659, the painter Rembrandt van Rijn, seeking a truce with inner light, went once more along the canal of a street in Amsterdam. The night was dark. Streets were dimly lit, but his feet carried him straight to the dwelling of Abram of Lublin. Within the dwelling, there were Abram of Lublin, his wife, his son, his kinfolk. and something beyond. The first evening of the celebration of the Exodus out of Egypt, the moment of origin of the people of Israel, the origin in revolt and flight, and discovery of uniqueness, the uniqueness that belongs to all. Rembrandt listened in the darkness. Then he heard the voice of Abram the bread seller.
This is the unleavened bread of affliction which our forefathers ate in the land of Egypt. Let those who are hungry enter and eat with us. Let those who are forlorn come and celebrate the Passover with us. Baruch haba! Blessed be he who comes. Rembrandt and Rijn, I make you welcome. I'm glad you came.
I am Abram's wife. This is my family, and these are friends and neighbors. Will you sit down?
I don't belong here.
You belong, meine Rembrandt. Is someone with you?
No, I'm alone.
All people who are alone belong with us on the Ceder night of the Passover.
Please sit down. We are beginning the Ceder. I will explain it to you as we go along.
No, please, don't explain. Just forget that I'm here.
Rembrandt, I must explain. What is this Passover Ceder? It is only a lesson. From the beginning to end, a lesson for children. See, we begin now with a child's question, with 4 questions. Why is this night different from other nights in the year?
It was not the child of Abram who sang. It was not Abram himself. It was not his wife or his kin. It was the total of these things, the sum of all Israel, its history, its faith, its future. Rembrandt van Rijn shivered and was cold, for Abram of Lublin sat against a pillow, and no more was he the seller of bread. The face was serene, but the expression was no longer patient and impassive.
Avodim hoyinu lefaro b'mitzroim. Slaves of Pharaoh were we in Egypt, and the Lord our God brought us forth with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Rembrandt van Rijn.
Yes, Abram.
Even you were brought forth from Egypt by the Lord our God. Every man in all times must come forth out of his own Egypt.
I know.
Rembrandt, the words are written in Hebrew and in your own language. Will you read?
Here is the place, Rembrandt. Read from here.
And if the Holy One, blessed be his name, had not brought our fathers forth from Egypt, then surely we and our children's children would yet be enslaved to Pharaoh. Therefore, even if all of us were rich in wisdom and entire of understanding, nevertheless would it be necessary for us to repeat once more the story of the Exodus out of Egypt. And he who delights to dwell upon the liberation, he is a man to be praised.
Navadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim.
This was the Passover of Rembrandt van Rijn. For his heart regarded the melodies that were sung, and his eyes looked upon Abram, whom he saw for the first time.
Abram of Lublin, the inner light that is within you is the light of this festival, the unleavened bread upon this dish, the memory of your fathers, the knowledge of what you have been.
It is the same with you, Rembrandt, and with all people. That is why I read to you the first time we met, that the true knowledge of God begins with the love of man.
Abram, why do you dip your finger in the wine?
My wife will tell you.
Because the Lord visited 10 plagues upon the Egyptians. And so, as we recite the plagues, we dip our fingers 10 times in wine.
Yes, but why?
Because they were smitten by plagues. And the Talmud says that they were also men and women. And their blood was as red as ours.
But they were your persecutors. They killed your male children.
Yes, Rembrandt. They killed. And in turn, they were smitten by God. But it is set down in the Talmud that when the Egyptians perished in the Red Sea, and the angels rejoiced and began their hallelujah, the Lord rebuked them and said, "Creatures of mine are perishing in the sea. How can you sing a song?"
The Ceder went on, and they sang a psalm of David, and Rembrandt read the words of the psalm.
When Israel came forth out of Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of strange language, Judah became his sanctuary, Israel his dominion. The sea saw it and fled. The Jordan turned backward. The mountains skipped like rams, the hills like young sheep. What aileth thee, O thou sea, that thou fleest? Thou Jordan, that thou turnest backward? Ye mountains, that ye skip like rams, ye hills like young sheep. Tremble, thou earth, at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob, who turned the rock into a pool of water, the flint into a fountain of waters.
Adirhu, Yivne Veisor Bekarov,
He had sat with them, and they had related the bondage not only of Israel, but of all who live, the bondage to the darkness that lies within. And even as bondage is the beginning of all liberation, so also is darkness the beginning of all light. Even the light, the inner light that came from Abram the immigrant from Lublin. And Rembrandt van Rijn held the light carefully within the sockets of his eyes and the reservoir of his brain. And holding it thus, he returned to the mean, squalid room where he lived. And he placed the light upon the face of Abram. And behold, the tablet of the law said, "Thou shalt." And the face became the face of Moses.
Jacob van Kampen.
Yes, Rembrandt.
I have finished my exodus for now.
Your exodus?
I have made as much peace with myself as I am able. And now, if you wish, I shall paint your portrait.
I will give you the money for it now. But, Rembrandt, I warn you, I am not this bread seller of yours. There isn't any light that comes from me.
You're wrong. Every man shines forth his own light. The thing is to know wherein in every man you must look. And when you find it, the thing is to know that you have found it.
But, Rembrandt, it isn't your Moses that hangs in the town hall of Amsterdam.
It doesn't matter. What matters, Van Kampen, is that I have polished the back of my statue and satisfied my God.
I'm not a quick man. I don't understand.
Mynheer, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Just raise your face up so that it holds the light.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we take great pleasure in presenting the Honorable Edgar J. Nathan, Justice of the Supreme Court of the State of New York and Chairman of the Eternal Light Committee of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Judge Nathan.
I am glad of this opportunity to express the appreciation of the seminary and of the vast listening audience of the Eternal Light to the National Broadcasting Company for making this program possible and meaningful. In the 500 scripts representing these 13 years of broadcasting, the Jewish Theological Seminary of America has attempted to fulfill the opportunity given it by the National Broadcasting Company. Through this program, it has sought to translate the ideals and precepts of Judaism in a series of specific dramatizations designed to be understood and appreciated by Americans of all faiths. To tell them the stories of men and women who saved their fellow man, their community, and the nation has been the central objective. Emphasis has been placed on nobility of character and religious import. We have tried to do what Rembrandt sought to do in his portrait of Moses, bring out the light of the soul, the spark of God in man. Spiritual values are more appreciated and understood today than in the recent past, and there is recognized a return to worship of God in church and synagogue. The example of leaders in the nation has contributed largely to this, and I may say with confidence that a measure of credit is also due to the sponsors of this program, the National Broadcasting Company and the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. We are, of course, gratified by the warmth of appreciation that has come to us from all parts of the United States and from all corners of the globe, from members of our armed forces, from the youngster and the adult. It is with great pleasure that I now present Mr. Davidson Taylor, Vice President in charge of Public Affairs Programs of the National Broadcasting Company.
Judge Nathan, today with the completion of 500 broadcasts, a milestone is reached in the 13-year history of the Eternal Light. And I regard it also as a milestone in the history of religious broadcasting. On behalf of the National Broadcasting Company, I should like to express to you and to the faculty and board of directors of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America our warmest congratulations. Week after week, these programs have been dedicated to the fundamental truth that men are united in the fatherhood of God. The universal appeal of these programs, ethical and moral problems as well as religious lessons of hope and faith, have won distinction and brought inspiration to the entire American community. The fine character, the high purpose for which this program was created, have been steadily upheld throughout these 500 programs. This should be a special source of pride to you. The prayerful leadership of the seminary faculty and the profound interpretations of their ideals by writers of the many and varied scripts have left a mark on the spiritual life of our nation. It is a privilege to join you, Judge Nathan, in this ceremony which inaugurates the 501st script of the Eternal Light.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor and Judge Nathan. Our Eternal Light drama today, The Passover of Rembrandt van Rijn, was written by Morton Wishengrad. Cantor David Putterman and Hannah Amsterdam Kliegfeld sang the traditional music. Featured in the cast were Leon Janney, Ronald Long, Guy Rep, and Beatrice Pons. The narrator was Norman Rose. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Roy Shields. This is Mel Brandt. This has been an NBC Radio Network production, directed by Daniel Sutter. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's program, celebrating the centennial of Woodrow Wilson's birth, Nor Reach the Uplands, is by Marion Voigt.
It is written in the Talmud, Rabbi Tarfon said, It is not incumbent on you to finish the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. The practical man hears this, and what does he say?
Well, sure, I grant you can't always finish a job, but if you don't see at least a chance of it, why bother starting?
It is written also in the works of the rabbis, scholars and wise men magnify the peace of the world. And the practical man responds,
Oh, sure, in a way it's true enough. But scholars there have to be pretty dreamy fellows, off on some cloud most of the time. Wait for them to do something, and you'd wait a long time.
The practical man lives in the real world. He reads the papers and knows the score. He read the papers, for instance, back in 1908 and knew the score then.
Well, I see by the paper that fellow Wilson's come up against some of the facts of life, no? This'll bring him down to earth in a hurry.
That fellow Wilson was the scholarly president of Princeton University, a university which had managed, oddly enough, to make the news all across the country because of certain democratic reforms its president wanted to make.
Not such bad ideas at that. But now along comes this fellow Proctor, willing to give the school $500,000 if they'll do just the opposite of what Wilson wants. Well, a fellow like Wilson can't fight $500,000. Nobody can.
A practical man lives in the real world. He knows what's what. But sometimes he gets a surprise.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, members of the board. I believe very strongly in those principles I've been advocating. So strongly, in fact, that I cannot see remaining connected with this university when those ideas are abandoned. Therefore, as you accept this bequest of $500,000, will you also please accept my resignation as president?
The trustees, astounded by anyone thinking so lightly of $500,000, took another look at the sum themselves and decided they were more impressed with the man. And Wilson stayed on as president of Princeton. For a while, that is. And then...
What shall I say, Ellen? You know what it will mean if I say yes. An end for a long while of our happy, easy family life. There will be weeks of campaigning and speech-making. It will be hard on you and the girls as well as on me. Is it worth it?
But how can you even ask, my dear? It's what you've always wanted. It's what all your years of study and writing have been aimed towards. A statesman's career.
This is politics, Ellen, and pretty rough-and-tumble politics at that.
It's the only way to start towards what you want.
After all the effort, all the sacrifices, I still might not make it.
Have you ever hesitated before a fight because there was a chance of losing? Do what you know is right. Say yes.
And so Woodrow Wilson agreed to be the Democratic nominee for governor of the state of New Jersey. And the practical man shook his head again.
Well, that does it. Look who steamrolled that nomination through the convention. Big fellow Jim Smith and all the other party bosses of the state. And that poor, starry-eyed idealist thinks he'll have some say about things if he does make it to Trenton.
A good many members of the reform element in the Democratic Party felt the same as the practical man, but Wilson's campaigning breathed such sincerity that their doubts crumbled.
I'll be darned. He made it. And with the biggest plurality a Democratic candidate ever got in New Jersey. Well, he sounded good, all right. But now let him try to do something about it with the bosses moving in for the payoff.
Woodrow, what is this? I thought before you even accepted Jim Smith's support, he promised you he'd give up his ambitions to be senator.
He did. Very promptly and cheerfully. But now we've made it, he doesn't see any reason to let a silly promise keep him out of the nation's most exclusive club.
Big fellow Jim Smith as a United States senator. It's horrible. Why, he has no more idea of lawmaking or... Unthinkable. Does he think you won't be able to do a thing now?
It's his idea that I'm already looking forward to something bigger than governor in New Jersey. If I try to cross him now, he will make sure I never go any further than where I am right now.
Could he stop you from going further?
It's quite possible. But there is no point in going any further if every move I make must be subject to his approval. So look, Ellen. Here is the statement I am releasing today. I don't think the big fellow will be going to Washington during my 4 years as governor, at least.
But now, with the big fella through, the big fella's nephew, himself the boss of Newark, came charging into the fight. The argument grew heated in the governor's office.
Accusations of using patronage come poorly from you, Mr. Nugent. I think this discussion might well end right now. There is the door, sir.
There is the door. You take that tone with me, along with everything else, Wilson. You are no gentleman.
And you, Mr. Nugent, are no judge. Good day.
Oh, and you are no judge. Oh, by George, that fellow Wilson's not such a dreamer at that. He can give it with the best of them. Yeah, maybe he will make out with some of those big ideas after all.
1911. A simpler, less self-conscious America just settling down to explore the results of terrific expansion and industrial conquest found Wilson's program for New Jersey the most advanced kind of liberalism. Nominations by direct primary, a Corrupt Practice Act for the state, regulation of public utilities, an Employees' Liability Act, measures we take for granted today because that fellow Wilson, a scholar of government and a student of history, stepped forth from his study and entered the real world of politics.
Why, George, you've got to hand it to him. And you know, these speeches of his make darn good reading. Oh, but all this talk about making him the Democratic nominee for president, oh, Tommy Ryan. Your average voter doesn't care that much about issues. He just wants to be stirred up.
Still, it was a curious thing how many average voters were reacting to Wilson's speeches. And these days, something more than a boyhood love of oratory, more helpful than years of classroom lecturing, was quickening Wilson's voice.
My dear, you're pale with fatigue. You'll get another of your headaches if you don't put away that speech now and come to bed.
Yes, I know, Ellen. It's late. Ellen, I have changed in the last few years, did you know?
Changed?
Not towards you, my dear. Don't look so startled. Never that. I'm talking about my beliefs in the principles of government. You know, I used to be a good deal of a Hamiltonian. But for all Hamilton's genius, he never learned to trust the people. To him, the mass of humankind was always a great beast. A beast that couldn't reason, couldn't argue, couldn't think.
Somehow I don't think you ever really believed that.
If I ever did, it's all gone now, Ellen. Now I'm convinced that the whole hope of mankind lies with mankind itself. Just let the people's leaders speak to them clearly, honestly, showing them where the greater freedom lies. And they'll choose the path of freedom and justice instinctively.
It's a wonderful faith, Woodrow, but a hard one. Look how it's driving you.
It's the only faith that's worthy of America, Ellen. You go along to bed now. I'll be along soon.
The talk, the work, booming Wilson for president went on. Colonel Harvey, editor of the powerful Harper's Weekly, was one of the boom's chief supporters. And the practical man nodded skeptically.
Well, there you've got it. Wilson talks big about hating money power, being against franchises, and who's pulling the strings for him? Colonel Harvey, right-hand man of the biggest franchise grabber of all, Thomas Fortune Ryan. Why, his whole magazine is nothing but a mouthpiece for J.P. Morgan.
One more thing, Wilson. I understand there's been some talk about my connections with Wall Street. Now, you don't have any feeling that my support will be an embarrassment to you, do you?
You want the truth, Colonel Harvey?
Why, of course.
Then I have to tell you frankly, much as I appreciate all you have done for me, your support does embarrass me.
Well, I'll be. Wilson's really cooked his goose this time. There's the end of his hopes of the nomination.
And once again, the practical man was wrong, and Wilson's faith in the people at large was justified. July, and the word went out from the Democratic Convention in Baltimore to the cottage on the Jersey coast, where Wilson and his wife were waiting.
Yes? Wilson speaking. So? On the 46th ballot. I see. Yes. Thank you very much.
Woodrow?
Well, dear, we won't be going on that holiday to England after all.
You made it. They nominated you. Oh, my dear.
You are happy, Ellen?
I'm happy. I'm sad. I'm frightened. I am glad, so glad you're going to have a chance at last to do some of the things you've dreamed of.
Ellen, I'm only nominated. I haven't been elected yet.
Oh, but you will be. You will be.
And so, on March 4th, 1913, he stood ready at last to help guide America to the new freedom of which he had talked all through the campaign. The new freedom which was to be nothing more nor less than the old and marvelous freedom which had always been America's. But revitalized now, Wilson made just one little joke before his inauguration.
It would be the irony of fate if my administration had to deal chiefly with foreign affairs.
Fate's ironies were minor at first. Revolution in Mexico caused anxiety, but did not distract him from his plans. Plans that astounded the practical man.
Reduce the tariff. Oh, sure, everybody's for it. I am for it, you're for it, he's for it, except where it affects me or you or him. Reduce the tariff. Just let Wilson try.
Wilson tried and succeeded.
Public control over privately owned banks. Oh, the bankers have a word for that. Socialism.
Nevertheless, the Federal Reserve System was adopted, bringing with it an order and stability soon taken for granted as necessary.
Federal Trade Commission isn't a man's own business, his own private affair anymore. Rural credits. Oh, now, wait a minute. Louis Brandeis as a judge in the Supreme Court. Does Wilson think he can make that appointment stick? A Jew in the Supreme Court? Oh, never.
Patiently, stubbornly, irresistibly, Wilson fought through to victory on every point.
All through the centuries, there has been this slow, painful struggle forward. Up a little at a time, along the entire interminable way. What difference does it make if we do not reach the uplands? We have given our lives to the enterprise, and that is richer, and the moral is greater.
But now it was August 1914, and the irony and tragedy of fate were both closing in on Wilson. August 1914, and his beloved wife lay dying. Even as over in Europe, an assassination in Sarajevo was setting off incredible catastrophe of European war. Overnight, America's enchanted remoteness was ended. Overnight now, the scholar in the White House had to learn the new and overwhelming lesson of Europe. There was no delay in the first conclusion.
America must be neutral in fact as well as in name. Impartial in thought as well as in action.
Wilson's aide and confidant, Colonel House, brought back further conclusions from a tour overseas.
It is the general opinion now, Mr. President, that if the Allies win, it will mean the domination of the continent by Russia. If Germany wins, it means the tyranny of militarism for generations to come.
The despotism of the Romanovs, or the militarism of Germany. There is no victory, whichever side wins. So America must stay neutral, Ed, whatever the provocation. If we're drawn in, every domestic reform we've won with such effort will be lost.
Well, you're right, of course, Mr. President. Still, when you consider the ties of sympathy that binds us to England, all the Allies...
You know, we cannot consider them. America must remain neutral, and not just to save our own reforms. I have a hope that when the fighting ceases, America can take a vital role as peacemaker. But only if we stay neutral. We must stay neutral, whatever the cost.
1915. And now the country, agreeing with Wilson at first, was rapidly growing less neutral. Privately, as Wilson learned more of German war aims and post-war plans, his own neutrality was ebbing. But he still saw only one course for America, despite increased provocation. May 7th, 1915, and a German U-boat torpedoed and sank the liner Lusitania, 124 Americans, among the more than 1,000 who were lost. But Wilson still stood firm.
The example of America must be a special example. Not merely of peace because it will not fight, but of peace because peace is the healing and elevating influence of the world, and strife is not. There is such a thing as a man being too proud to fight. A nation being so right, it does not need to convince others by force.
1916, another election year. Wilson talked peace more vigorously than ever, but he hated the slogan, "He kept us out of war." Re-elected, he wondered desperately just how America could stay out. With his second wife, Edith, at his side now, he worked night after night on a speech to Congress, which would also be an appeal to the world, an appeal for something brand new in history.
Peace without victory? Oh, Woodrow, is there even a chance of it? A chance of both sides agreeing to stop now and arbitrate?
If the Germans have any idea of how bad things are with the Allies, no. But I'm banking on the fact that they don't know. That they're growing fearful of a stalemate. Though if they are, then perhaps there is a chance to work out the world's one hope for lasting peace. A League of Nations banded together in a community of power to outlaw war forever. It can be achieved, Edith, with America leading the way.
Scarcely a week later came the note from Berlin announcing a renewal of unrestricted submarine warfare. And by April 2nd, 1917, Woodrow Wilson no longer had a choice. He stood before the Congress asking for a declaration of war against Germany.
Well, about time. Everybody with any common sense knew it was coming. Now let's just hope Wilson will get off his soapbox until we've wiped up those Huns and cleaned things up over there.
But now, while men and material were gathered and sent in an ever-increasing tide overseas, and 1,000 details beset him daily, Wilson worked towards his main goal more passionately than ever. January 8, 1918, and his peace aims, outlined in 14 points, were released to the world. And all over Europe, the men of the Allied nations rejoiced.
Voyez donc, listen, Wilson has overlooked nothing. No more secret treaties, no more armaments, freedom of the seas, a trade, a League of Nations. Ah, it is like winning a battle to reach such words. It is a victory in itself.
9 months later, Germany was appealing for peace to Wilson himself on the basis of the 14 points.
We can deal with no governments which do not represent the will of the governed.
The Kaiser abdicated. The new German Republic was ready now for the Allied surrender terms. And it was November 11th, 1918.
At last, I have you safely on shipboard, and for 9 whole days you're going to do nothing but rest, and sleep and rest some more.
Yes, my dear. In time, we shall cope with the problems that lie ahead in Paris.
No, for just this little space of time, you must forget it all. You're so exhausted, you're ready to drop.
Ready to drop? And I'm sailing at last towards the hope of a dream come true. And I'm going at last to represent America at the council table, where all the free nations are going to work out a plan to outlaw war forever.
I know, but still a rest now.
We're going to be men full of passion in Paris, men full of bitterness. Somehow, in spite of this, Lloyd George and Clemenceau and Orlando and the rest of us must create a treaty of peace that will work.
The treaty with the Continent for a League of Nations written into it, so tightly the two cannot be torn apart. It's the only way we'll have a means for gradually working out the problems we can't solve now. We have to achieve a league in it, or the war will have been in vain.
It was the dream embodied in the 14 points, the dream that so enkindled the minds and hearts of the common people of Europe, they cheered this light-tailed scholar like a conqueror. To them, indeed, he had come to magnify the peace of the world. But up at the level where peace had to be made, the voices rose angrily, demandingly.
If Europe is ever to be safe in the future, Germany must be crushed to the ground.
Italy requires and demands Fiume. Italy agrees to no treaty that does not protect her against the Serbs and the Croats.
And all the while the guns still fire, in Russia, in Poland, in Finland, in Central Europe. But Wilson held fast, and Lloyd George and Clemenceau, honest men themselves, came to know a deep respect for this American who would bargain and compromise like a Yankee trader, but never give up on the main issue.
All right now, Woodrow. On this trip back, you are going to rest. 16 and 18 hours of work a day for the last 3 months. That's enough to kill a strong man, which you are not.
Yes, I suppose I must rest a little. But the fight is only half won. Edith, I can't understand what's happening at home. Lodge and Knox and the others were never against the League before. What is this storm they are brewing?
It's just a political tempest,
Woodrow. The people in the League can't turn into a party fight. I need the whole first draft before the Foreign Relations Committee as soon as we get back. I'll ask for every criticism, every suggestion that they'd like in a final draft when I go back to Paris. Now we have a start. We cannot lose, Edith. We dare not.
Back in Washington, the senators listened, questioned, objected. Only the senators Lodge and Knox, already committed to denouncing the treaty, kept ominously silent. And Wilson sailed back to Europe to hammer out through days and nights of effort every compromise the senators had asked for.
I see he's finally coming home, and about time. The war's over. The president's place is here. As for that treaty he's so proud of, he could have saved himself the trouble. America can't commit herself to rushing in to settle all of Europe's quarrels. Oh, and this picture of him. He looks worn out. And what for? America is never going to buy that treaty or that League of Nations.
The practical man again. But wait, he's been wrong before. All through the long years of Wilson's public life, he was wrong every time. Perhaps there is a chance he can be wrong again.
Woodrow, you can't undertake a speaking tour like that. Dr. Grayson forbids it. It would kill you. A man in the prime of health couldn't stand it, and you're exhausted. You can't, Woodrow.
I have to, Edith. I have to talk to the people themselves. They've never failed yet, and the issues were clear to them. Once they understand what refusing to join the League would mean, once they understand that withholding cooperation now means war again, war worse than any horrors we've known, they won't fail, Edith. I know it.
By golly, it sounds like he's making a little progress. But they're cheering him wherever he goes. Indiana, St. Louis, out west. I have to hand it to him. He sure knows how to talk. But still, he's not going to make it.
Woodrow? Woodrow? My dear, what is it? You're ill, terribly ill. Don't try to move. Dr. Grayson, come at once. The president has collapsed.
And now at last the practical man was right. In that time, in that America, Wilson failed, and Wilson died. And the calamity he predicted came to pass. Was all the effort in vain? Now, 100 years after the date of his birth, 10 years after the founding of the United Nations, his own words proclaim the faith that no such struggle is in vain.
All through the centuries, there has been this slow, painful struggle forward. What difference does it make if we do not reach the uplands? We have given our lives to the enterprise, and that is richer, and the moral is greater thereby.
And even so, it is written in the Talmud, it is not incumbent on you to finish this work, but neither are you free to desist from it.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we take great pleasure in presenting the Honorable Robert B. Minor, Governor of the State of New Jersey. Governor Minor.
You have just heard a dramatization of the public career of Woodrow Wilson as President of Princeton University, as Governor of the State of New Jersey, and as President of the United States. As one of Woodrow Wilson's successor in the office of Governor of New Jersey, I wish to congratulate the Eternal Light radio program and the Jewish Theological Seminary of America on this remarkable tribute to a great American whose 100th anniversary is being celebrated throughout the United States this year. It seems to me Marion Vogt, author of the script, nor Reach the Uplands, has done a remarkable job in condensing the long career of Woodrow Wilson into dramatic form. Here are portrayed Wilson's battle for the democratization of a great university, his refusal as governor to send an unfit man to the Senate of the United States, his domestic reforms in the first presidential term, his battle with his conscience before the declaration of war on Germany in 1917, and his losing fight for American participation in the League of Nations. And now, as we look backward over the panorama of history, we find that Woodrow Wilson's idealism, his passionate hope for peace on earth among all peoples, has become a burning and practical necessity. It was not until another bloody war had been fought that the United Nations was born. Meantime, mankind reacts with horror at the creation of weapons deadly enough to destroy entire civilizations. We see now that Wilson was a major prophet of our century, and it behooves us, in the centennial year of 1956, to reflect long upon the eternal lessons he preached so patiently and so passionately. In doing so, we will not only be honoring a man's memory, we will be fashioning the means for our own self-preservation.
Thank you, Governor Minor. Our Eternal Light drama today, Nor Reach the Uplands, was written by Marion Voigt. Cantor Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Roy Shields. Featured in the cast were Santos Ortega, Robert Hastings, Rita Lloyd, Rosemary Murphy, Guy Sorrell, and Joe DeSantis. The narrator was Roger DeKoven. This is Mel Brandt. This has been an NBC Radio Network production, directed by Daniel Sutter. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, My Unpredictable Storytelling Father, was written by Mark Siegel.
You know, one thing I never expected ever to do was to tell any of the stories my father told me. When I say told me, I mean told me, over and over, till I could hardly stand it. There's hardly a word in those stories I can't remember. My father would say, "That reminds me of the time when..." And I'd say to myself,
"Oh, no, not again."
So it comes as much of a surprise to me as it does perhaps to you to find myself wanting to tell you some of my father's stories. To understand my father's stories at all, you have to know a little about him. To begin with, he was born in the United States in the year 1880.
We're a very old, unestablished family. Very.
It was just that kind of puzzling, unadorned statement that would lead me into the trap. Every time. I'd ask a question.
What do you mean, Pa? Old and unestablished?
When I asked a question like that, my father's eyes would take on the narrative look. That's all I can call it, a narrative look. And he'd say,
"My answer to you is as follows."
It was a signal, that phrase. When my father said, "My answer to you is as follows," it was time to run. That is, if you didn't want to hear one of those stories. I mean, if you didn't want to hear one of those stories again. As my father saw it, we were an old family because with the rest of the human race, we could trace ourselves back to Adam. But we were unestablished because we'd only been in this country for a few generations. As far as I could see it, however, he was the most firmly established man I ever knew. He was a doctor, and everyone, absolutely everyone, on East 7th Street knew him. At least, everyone on East 7th Street between Avenue A and 2nd Avenue. Or almost everyone. And everyone who knew him spoke of him with special pride. You see, for one thing, he was noted for never losing his temper with his patients.
I said 2 aspirins every 4 hours, not 4 aspirins every 2 hours. What's your trouble? Haven't you got ears?
He was also known for his originality of expression.
The body is like a machine. What's that? You say you've heard that before? Well, what difference does that make? The body is still like a machine.
There were times when he would say,
"What do you think? Your outlook on life controls everything? Better eat more bread and butter."
And on other occasions, he'd tell the same patient,
"Listen, the body isn't everything. Forget the medicines and go to the synagogue a little more often."
In short, my father may not have been unestablished, but he was certainly unpredictable. Unpredictable, that is, about everything except his stories. You could count on them. Even the simplest question put to my father could evoke one of his inexhaustible stock of stories. For instance, there was the time I asked,
"Pa, can I have a raise in my allowance?"
Joe, my answer to you is as follows.
The signal. I should have known better, but I never learned.
When I was a boy, we lived on the Lower East Side. There were times when I slept on boards.
Boards?
Boards. Well, very hard beds.
Oh.
When I was growing up, my first job was in Brooklyn. 10 hours a day I worked.
And you got $3 a week.
Now, Joe, how did you know that?
I seem to remember hearing about it somewhere before.
That's odd. In any case, to save car fare, I walked the Brooklyn Bridge every morning and every night. Twice a day, 5 times a week, and on Sundays.
Pa, what about my allowance?
The weather didn't matter. It could rain or snow. It didn't matter. Twice a day, 5 times a week, I walked the Brooklyn Bridge.
And on Sundays.
Now, don't be impertinent.
I'm not being impertinent. I just appreciate knowing about my allowance.
Allowance? Oh, of course. Well, what do you think I'm talking about except your allowance?
I should tell you that I got the raise in my allowance. But that's not the point. The point is that there were always stories. If my brother Milton and I had a fight over something, who would read a certain book that afternoon or who would run a certain errand, and neither of us would give in, we could expect to hear the one about the horse cars. That one always started with, on East Broadway, when I was a boy,
there used to be horse cars. One day, by mistake, a southbound horse car and a northern-bound horse car got on the same track. Neither driver would back up.
That was when the traffic got jammed, Joe.
Please, Joe, who's telling this story?
You are?
All right, then. Finally, when the traffic was jammed up from the East River to the Hudson River, a policeman took the two drivers to court. Do you know what the judge said?
Yes. He said...
Don't interrupt. The judge said, whichever one yields first is the wiser.
Okay, Pa. Then let Milton be the wiser. He's older than I am.
Yes, that's fair. He's older. He should be the wiser.
You heard him, Milton.
On the other hand, you shouldn't use your extreme youth as a weapon, Joe. So today it's your turn. You'll be the wiser.
As you can see, except for his stories, my father was an unpredictable man. There were times when I was 12 when I used to think my father had a kind of card catalog of stories in his head, a sort of mental equivalent of the card catalogs in the public library on 2nd Avenue, which he could consult on any subject. I used to think of my father's head as being stacked with stories, and I would imagine he had a kind of machine inside his head that picked out the stories, the right stories, for the right times. If a patient came into his office and said, "Doc, I can't sleep," I'd imagine the machine springing into action. I could practically see the file cards turning up right inside his head. Slap, slate, slave, sled. There. It would be coming now. Sleep. That was it.
My answer to you is as follows.
What, Doc?
Get up an hour earlier.
Now, doctors, along with lawyers, preachers, school principals, and psychiatrists, suffer from an occupational disease, giving advice. My unpredictable father was no exception to the rule. He was always giving advice to his patients. But to us, the members of an old and unestablished family, he gave no advice. I can't remember his ever scolding us or reprimanding us. He just told stories. Once, my father sent me to Wanamaker's, a department store about 5 blocks away, to buy an appointment book for him. It was a cold day, and I was glad to get back to the house.
Pa, I got it.
Good. Bring it in here.
Here it is, Pa.
Right. That's the one. It costs $2?
Yes, Pa. Here's the change. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I only gave you 5, Joe.
I know. They made a mistake at the store then. They gave me an extra $1.
Well, you take it right back.
Now?
Now?
But, Pa, it's so cold.
Joe, it's not that cold.
But, Pa, they expect to make mistakes at a store like that.
They do?
Sure they do. Couldn't we just keep it?
Joe, my answer to you is as follows.
I could practically see the machine inside his head, picking over the stories. The one about the man who found the wallet on Division Street, or the one about the misaddressed letter with the money in it, or even the one about Abe Lincoln trudging through the snow to return a book. But it was none of them. It was a new one.
Joe, when I was just getting started as a doctor, a man came to see me one afternoon.
Afternoon, Doc.
Afternoon.
My name is Frank Miller, Doc. Harry Miller's brother.
Oh, yes. I was very sorry to hear about your brother. It was a terrible thing. Terrible. He was a good man.
Yeah, he was. Look, Doc, I'll come right to the point.
Fine, Mr. Miller.
My brother Harry left me some insurance, $20,000 worth.
Yes?
The policy says the company doesn't have to pay the money if his death was caused by, what do they call it, Doc? You probably know.
Physical impairment he had before he took out the policy.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
Well, what?
Well, I want you to sign a paper which says he didn't have one of them.
But, Mr. Miller, your brother Harry used to have epileptic spells. It's a long time ago, it's true, but...
Can you be sure that's what caused the accident?
No, but when a man has a history like that...
Maybe he did have a medical history, and maybe he didn't, Doc.
What do you mean, maybe? I know he did.
Look, Doc, no one else in the whole world knows that, only you and me.
Only... Get out of my office, Mr. Miller. Get out before...
Look, Doc, I hear you're not doing so well. I hear your wife's in the hospital.
That has nothing to do with it.
I wouldn't have come if I didn't know you need some cash badly. Now, you sign this paper.
I said get out of here.
Doc, you don't understand. They got millions of dollars, that company.
I don't care if they have billions. Now, get out. You hear me? Get out.
Okay, Doc. Take it easy. Only those insurance companies, they got lots of money.
So what happened, Pa?
What happened? I understand he got the $20,000 anyway, the poor man. He was certainly unlucky.
Unlucky? He got the $20,000 and he was unlucky?
Of course he was unlucky. Every night he has to go to sleep knowing that he took $20,000 that didn't belong to him. Now, get on your coat and take that dollar back to Wanamaker's, Joe.
My father's world was full of unlucky people with $20,000. And lucky people who were wondering how to pay their bills. But more than this, it was a world in which, even for an old and unestablished family, there were rules to live by. Rules which could be modified by other rules, to be sure. But rules. I remember the first time I wanted to go on an outing on a Saturday afternoon.
No, Joe. Not on the Sabbath.
The Sabbath was our day of prayer and rest and dedication. A day when we all stayed at home after we returned from the synagogue, and it was forbidden to engage in secular activities.
But, Pa, our teacher, Miss Farrell, is taking us. All we're going to do is walk to the Battery.
On the Sabbath, Joe?
But it's just to see the rivers, Pa, and the bay. It's a reward, Pa, for me and 3 other kids for writing the best compositions.
And it's just to see the rivers and the bay?
Yes, Pa. Please, Pa, can I go? It's a reward, Pa.
Joe, my answer to you is as follows.
It was the story about my father's professor at medical school.
I'm sorry, Professor. I can't do it.
Young man, I don't think you understand the implication.
I think I do, Professor.
Now listen to me again. This paper you've written is very original. I want you to come to the Medical Society's meeting on Saturday afternoon to read it. I've arranged the whole thing.
Professor, I appreciate your interest in me. If I thought my reading the paper would help anybody, I'd do it.
That's the whole point, young man. It will help you. It's very unusual for a student to be asked to appear. Don't you understand, young man? It's important for your career to get to know some of these men.
On the day I observe the Sabbath?
Well, that's up to you. You've been a good student, a superior student, and I've looked for some reward for you, a real reward.
So you mean I can't go on the outing?
To the Battery?
See the rivers in the bay.
Joe, on the Sabbath we give praise to God, and we know He's present by His handiwork. The rivers and the bay are God's handiwork. A walk to the Battery is no lecture before a medical society. Go right ahead.
He was a very unpredictable man. There were other fathers on East 7th Street, and they told stories to their children, too. They told stories from the Bible and stories from the Talmud. They quoted the Proverbs and the Psalms, and their children listened and understood. My father was not a scholar, and yet, in his so often repeated stories, perhaps there was a quality of which even he was unaware. Perhaps his stories really came from the same great reservoir that provided the stories told by other fathers in our old and unestablished society on East 7th Street. For me, at the age of 12, however, they seemed quite different. For they were stories which had been lived by people I had known. They were stories about members of my family which had been played out in the streets I'd walked, and in the houses I'd been in, and in the synagogue in which I prayed, and the stores in which my mother bought her groceries. They were real stories, as real as my father's moral values. In my father's repertoire of all the stories, there was one that popped up continuously. If the machine in his head went...
Charity.
Or,
Compassion.
Or even...
Robbery.
Or possibly piety or courage or adversity. Under any of these headings, and many others, this particular story could and would come up. It's the story my father told that I remember best of all.
That reminds me of a story. When I was a boy, one Friday evening, we all went to synagogue.
Only one Friday evening, Pa?
Now, Joe, don't interrupt. We went every Friday evening, of course. Of course, but I'm talking about a particular Friday evening. This particular Friday evening, while we were welcoming in the Sabbath, the clothing store Grandpa owned on Division Street was welcoming in something else.
What, Pa?
I was really a terrible hypocrite. I asked just as if I didn't know. Probably because there was a natural pause in the story, and I felt I had to fill it.
Wait, you'll know in a minute.
Okay, Pa. I'm listening.
Saturday night was a big night on Division Street. After the sun had set, Grandpa and Grandma would go to the store to open up. Later, the older boys, I was one of them, would come to help. That particular Saturday night, Grandpa got out his keys to open the store, as he always did.
Ethel, what's this?
What's what?
The door's open.
Sam, how can you be so careless?
What do you mean, careless?
You locked up on Friday, didn't you?
Of course I locked up. I always lock up.
Then why did you leave the door open?
I didn't leave the door open. Somebody opened it.
Now, why should somebody open our door? It's our store, isn't it?
Ethel, maybe you haven't noticed, but there are no suits in the window either.
No suits? You're right. There are no suits. Sam, what's happened? Why did you leave the door open?
In a minute, we'll see what's happened. But first, Ethel...
First what? Now, let's go inside and see what's happened.
But first, whatever's happened, Ethel,
it's not enough to make us quarrel. It's not enough to make you distrust me.
Please, Sam. Who distrusts you?
If you keep asking did I lock up on Friday, you distrust me.
Oh, Sam, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it.
Good. That's better.
I guess I was excited.
All right. I accept your apology.
Now let's go in and see what's happened.
They walked inside, and what they saw would have been enough to make an ordinary man or woman cry. Every last suit, every last bolt of cloth, every pattern, every scissors and needle was gone. It looked as if Grandpa's store had moved to what they used to call new and larger quarters. Grandma sat down heavily on a bench. They'd left the bench and looked up at Grandpa.
How could they do it, Sam?
I've been asking myself the same question.
They must have backed the van up to the door. Everything. They took everything. How could they do it in broad daylight?
Exactly. Any other day of the week, I can see how they could do it.
Now, what do you mean any other day of the week?
But on Saturday. To rob a store on Saturday when a man's in synagogue. Or on Sunday when he's in church.
Sam, what are we going to do?
Wait. We'll figure out what to do. Imagine. While a man's praying, they rob his store. Those robbers, Ethel.
What, Sam?
Those robbers. They must feel terrible tonight. Ethel, I certainly am sorry for those poor robbers.
Grandpa was sorry for the robbers, Pa?
Please, Joe, don't interrupt the story. Well, soon all over Division Street, everybody knew that Grandpa's store had been cleaned out by robbers. In every store, heads shook and people said, "Poor Sam. What's going to happen to him?" And inside the empty store, Grandpa and Grandma and the older boys, including me, sat, and we wondered also.
Well, Sam, what are we going to do?
We'll sit a little. We'll think. Also, we'll remember. All of us.
We'll remember what, Sam?
We'll remember that we ate a good dinner, didn't we? Also, we haven't missed a meal yet, have we? So we'll remember while we're thinking not to worry. We'll think, but we won't worry.
It was while we were thinking, but not worrying, that it started.
Oh, come in, Mr. Levy.
Hello, Sam. Hello, Ethel.
Hello, Mr. Levy.
Sam, there's something you can do for me.
Something? What can I do for you, Mr. Levy?
I want to buy a suit, Sam.
A suit? How can I sell you a suit?
I'll buy it now. You'll make it later.
How do you know you'll get your suit? How do you know anyone will sell me material?
I'll get the suit, and you'll get the material.
How can you be sure? I owe a lot of money, Mr. Levy, for all the goods that were stolen.
You're an honest man, Sam, so I'm sure I'll get the suit.
You think I can get cloth without collateral?
Sam, what's better collateral than an honest man?
So that's the way it started. After Mr. Levy, the druggist came in to buy a suit, then the fishman, then Mr. Goldstein, the novelties and notions man, then the baker, everybody. Everybody on Division Street and a few other streets came to buy suits which weren't there from Grandpa that night.
That's a good story, Pa.
It's not the end of the story, Joe. How we worked making those suits, all of us. Even the littlest one helped. Every night, all night we worked. For 3 years, until all the debts had been paid, and Grandpa was on his feet again. Yes, Joe, it was a wonderful thing, that robbery. A wonderful thing.
Wonderful, Pa? You mean terrible.
Joe, don't contradict me. I mean wonderful.
Why wonderful?
Because I worked my fingers to the bone.
That's wonderful.
My answer to you is as follows.
I thought...
Oh, no. Not another story. Not one on top of the other. He couldn't.
And he didn't. It was the only time I can remember when my father started with a signal and followed with an explanation, not a story.
Of course it's wonderful. Don't you see? If we hadn't gone to synagogue, there couldn't have been a robbery. If there hadn't been a robbery, all those good people on Division Street wouldn't have had the chance to be so good. If they didn't get the chance to be so good, we wouldn't have had to work so hard, and I never would have found out how hard I could work. If I hadn't found out how hard I could work, I never would have gone to medical school. I never would have become a doctor. I never would have married your mother, and I never would have had a son like you to whom I could tell the story. It was certainly a wonderful thing, that robbery.
I don't know whether I got the point across about my father's stories. Perhaps you'd have to hear them as I did over and over. The great quality they had, I suppose, was that they reflected a confidence in life, a power to face life. My father, my unpredictable storytelling father, is gone now. But when I think of him, I remember most the stories, the endless stories. They're a legacy that grows in richness with the years. For each story, every story that my storytelling father told, conveyed a gift of age-old wisdom. A gift you will find in a single sentence in the Bible. His stories and his life proclaim the words, "Those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength." The spiritual legacy of our story today is the legacy that all parents, I am sure, wish to leave their children. A confidence in life, a power to face life with wisdom and courage to meet its realities and its challenges, come what may. My unpredictable storytelling father points out to us all again the fundamental part which family life and home environment play in moral and ethical living. Today in our complex society, there are a great many laws to control juvenile delinquency. Our nation, our society, is one which is built on law. We boast of equal justice under law. Thus we become accustomed to laws. But is it not true that there are many things that laws cannot do? Here in America, the family is the central and strongest unit of our community life. It is the basic structure upon which our society is built. With and only with a strong family basis can our laws have strength and meaning. Without a strong basic structure, any law, no matter how important or far-reaching, yes, and no matter how well written, will be weak and ineffectual. Statistics show that there is an ever-increasing number of young people attending religious institutions and religious services. We hope they are attending for what they will find there, not because it is the popular thing to do. Prepared at home and motivated by the teachings of the family, our youth will find in our religious institutions help and guidance in searching for the truth. Youth must test, must try things for themselves, but directed by the family, they can receive the gift of age-old wisdom. Given the necessary encouragement and background of an ethical and moral home life, the storytelling father may well be the instrumentality of changing what might otherwise be a humdrum and uninteresting existence into a joyous, fruitful, and...
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations make free time available to present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, It's a Long Walk to Jerusalem, was written by Mark Siegel. It is based on a story written by Miriam Bly Grotto entitled 1 Foot from Yemen to Israel. The program is presented in celebration of the 8th anniversary of the establishment of the State of Israel.
That's David singing, David Ben Ezra. When I hear his voice, something happens to me, something indescribable. For his voice says, to me at least, anything is possible if you have the faith and patience. Anything. There's nothing so extraordinary about the voice of a boy preparing for his bar mitzvah, certainly not here in Jerusalem. There are other boys right here in this children's home right at this very minute chanting the traditional melodies which are part of the symbolic ceremony of becoming a man at the age of 13. But David is different, for his voice says something special to me. His voice says, it's a long walk to Jerusalem. Until one night 8 months ago, David Ben Ezra was not known as David Ben Ezra. He was Daoud Damari, one of 6 sons and daughters of an Arab family living in the city of Damar in the feudal land of Yemen. That night, it was a cool night, one of those nights when even the jackals do not feel like howling. Daoud slept soundly, surrounded by his family, who lay wrapped in their rugs on the floor of the clay hut which Daoud had thought always was his home.
Daoud. Wake up, Daoud.
What is it, my mother?
Quiet, Daoud. You will wake the others.
What does my mother want?
Come outside to the courtyard.
Now, my mother?
Now and quietly.
Silently, the boy followed his mother to the huge grindstone in the courtyard. Silently, he waited for her to speak.
Daoud, hear me. For weeks I have struggled with my soul, but now the time has come. I must tell you.
Tell me what, my mother?
Listen then. Daoud, you are not my son. I love you, my child, but you are not my son.
If I am not my mother's son, then who am I?
10 summers ago it was, Daoud, that your mother and your father died in the great pestilence. Miriam was her name.
Miriam?
And your father's name, Ezra.
Ezra? That's a strange name.
And you, Daoud, truly your name is David. David ben Ezra.
Miriam. Ezra. David.
My child, do not weep.
Forgive me, Forgive me, Shafika.
I forgive you, little one. May you forgive me.
Shafika, why do you tell me now? Why in the middle of the night? Why now and not before?
Daoud, hear me, child. When your mother gave you to me, she made me take a vow.
A vow?
It was her dying wish, Daoud.
What was her wish, Shafika?
That in the 13th spring of your life, Daoud, you should walk through the gates of the city of Jerusalem.
Jerusalem? Where is Jerusalem?
To the north, Daoud, far to the north.
And how am I to get there?
You must walk.
But why? Why does my mother wish me to walk to Jerusalem?
It is the holy city of your people, Daoud.
Of my people? Are we not of the same people, Shafika?
Daoud, your mother Miriam was a Jew. Your father Ezra was a Jew. You are a Jew. Now make haste, my child. Go before you are stopped and questioned. And may Allah be with you.
Eight months ago it was, in the city of Damar in Yemen, that the woman Shafika, weeping silently, pressed a few denarii, all that she had, into the palm of David Ben Ezra and sent him forth into the night. In his arms she placed a sack of food she had prepared, and across his shoulders the only shawl she owned. And around his neck she fastened a small chain, and from the chain there hung a little 6-pointed star of gold, the only legacy of David's mother Miriam. Through the silent streets of Damar, David walked as the city slept, northward towards the countryside, as Shafika had told him he must walk. Northwards, fingering the 6-pointed star which Shafika had told him would protect him. Northwards, a 12-year-old child thrust abruptly into a new and frightening world, struggling with questions he could not answer.
What was my mother like? Was she beautiful? Why did she want me to go to Jerusalem in the 13th spring of my life? Why am I not a Muslim like everybody else? Why did Shafika tell me to tell no one I am Jewish?
A 12-year-old boy in Yemen must have lived as a Jew to know why it is unsafe to say he is Jewish. David did not know that in his native Yemen, Jews must live below the level of the streets, so that under no circumstance may a Jew look down upon an Arab. All that David knew was that Shafika had told him he must fulfill his mother's dying wish. He must walk to Jerusalem. At first, he asked those he met,
How far is it to Jerusalem?
but no one seemed to know. Soon, David's question changed.
Which way is it to Jerusalem?
Still, he found no one who could answer. And finally, his question became more general.
Which road goes north?
The roads went northward through the bleached desert lands of Yemen, and on them walked a weary child of 12, his black eyes wondering about his past and future, his throat parched with thirst. In the marketplace of Tua, shadowed by the Asarat Mountains to the north, David learned that distance was not the only obstacle he would have to surmount.
Merchant, this water bottle, what is its price?
Ah, that one is expensive, boy. It is a big one. Too big a water bottle for so small a boy.
It is a big one I need, sir.
As you wish. It is half a dinar. You have that much.
I think so, sir.
Good. I will count out your change.
Merchant, a last question.
What now?
Which road goes north?
North? You are mistaken, little traveler. You cannot go north.
Because of the mountains? I'm not afraid of the mountains.
The mountains are hard enough, boy, yet those a man may cross, but not the border.
Not the what?
The border, where the country ends and a new country begins.
Why is it so hard to cross, merchant? Is it a wall, then? Too high to climb?
It is no wall, boy, but there are soldiers there. They will not let you pass.
I must go anyway.
Listen to me, little fool. I do not know you, and I do not know where you're going. But do not try to cross the border.
If you will give me my change, sir.
Do you know what is done to those who are caught trying to smuggle themselves across the border?
No, sir, I don't. But if I may have my change...
The punishment is chopping off.
Chopping off? Of what?
A hand, an ear, a head, what does it matter? That is the punishment. Hey, boy, wait a minute. Where are you going? Come back, boy! Come back! Come back!
Hiding by day, walking by night, David Ben Ezra, aged 12, made his way into the steep range of the Asarat Mountains, approaching now the border between Yemen and Saudi Arabia. He had begun to think he had already crossed the border when one night he felt a large hand grasp him firmly by the arm.
Not so fast, boy, not so fast.
Have it this way. I have another.
Please, sir. My arm. You're hurting my arm.
Enjoy the hurt while you still have the arm, boy. Where are your papers?
What papers, sir?
No papers, huh? Too bad.
Mohammed, come here. I have a smuggler. The smallest one you ever saw carrying the biggest water bottle you ever saw.
Please, sir. Please.
Stop squirming, you little devil. There. That's better. Now be still.
Mohammed, where the devil are you?
May I...
What now?
May I have a drink of water from my water bottle?
A drink? All right, have your drink.
Thank you, sir.
But do not try to run. If you run, I shall have to shoot you.
Do you wish a drink, sir?
Good. Give me the water bottle.
Here it is, sir. May you use it well.
Halt! Halt, you little fool! Halt! I'll shoot!
He was not wounded. He had crossed the border. He had learned that he must use guile if necessary to survive. Again, he turned his face northward towards Jerusalem. It was 3 months after he had left Yemen that David Ben Ezra stood begging on a street in Taif in the kingdom of Hejaz, his hair long and matted, his feet raw and bleeding, his clothes in tatters.
Please, something for food.
A swaying 12-year-old who had forgotten how to cry, begging for a morsel to appease the hunger of a starving body. Most passed him by, but one who had passed him, noticing something, returned.
Please, something.
Here are a few coins, my son.
Thank you, sir. May Allah shower his blessings on you. Thank you.
Allah, where do you live, my son?
On the road.
On the road to where, my child?
To the north.
To the north of what?
To the north. Only to the north. Forgive me, sir. Please let me go now to buy food.
Before you go, child, answer one question.
What question?
That gold star I see through your rags. Where did you get it?
stranger took David to his house. With his wife, he nursed the boy back to health, and with his wife, he taught David about his people. For the stranger was a Jew, the first Jew David Ben Ezra had ever known.
Call me Uncle Joseph, David, Uncle.
Are you my uncle, then?
No, I am not. On the other hand, you can use an uncle.
Then tell me, Uncle Joseph, about the star.
More about the star?
All you know.
There is much more to know than just about the Star of David, child. Much more.
And when will I learn the much more?
When, David? All your life, I hope. All of your life.
The days passed, and the child grew strong again. And a day came when he stood before the stranger who was no longer a stranger, and said,
It is time for me to go, Uncle Joseph.
And the stranger who was no longer a stranger, who was 6 times David's age, sat down and tried to reason with him.
David, we aren't going to let you go. It would be better for you to stay with us.
But I promised Shafika, and soon it will be spring, and my mother...
I know, child, I know, but it is still far to Jerusalem.
It can't be very far now. It can't.
It is, David.
Very far? How far?
Can you remember how far you have come, David?
Yes, I remember.
Then listen to me, son. From here to Jerusalem, it is farther than the distance you have already walked.
How far does one send a child of 12 alone? Across a few city streets? To a neighboring village, perhaps, on an errand? With a leader on an outing of a few miles? David Ben Ezra had walked alone 600 miles. Between him and the city of Jerusalem were still 850 miles of desert and mountainous terrain.
Even so, I must go. I must.
No, not alone.
Then you come with me, Uncle Joseph.
I am old. Too old.
Too old to go to Israel? To see the star on the flag?
Too old to smuggle myself across the border, David.
I'll show you how.
Too old to hide. Too old to run. You will not stay with me, David?
I want to, Uncle Joseph, but I promise.
Yes, I know. If you will not stay, David, let me think how you are to get to Jerusalem. Let me think and make a plan.
The city of Taif, in which Joseph lived, is not far from Mecca, the holy city of the Muslim world. To Mecca each year the pilgrims come from all the Arab lands, and it was that time of year in which the annual pilgrimage is made. On these facts, Joseph constructed his plan.
You will go to Mecca, David.
To Mecca? It is to Jerusalem I must go.
To Jerusalem by way of Mecca, then.
When, Uncle Joseph?
Tomorrow, David.
Tomorrow. I will remember you, Uncle Joseph, all the days of my life. All of them.
Please, my child. No partings yet.
But if I'm to go tomorrow...
David, you have walked enough alone. Do you think I would let you go to Mecca without me?
Together they walked from Taif to Mecca. Mecca, crowded by Muslim pilgrims from all of Jordan and Arabia, from Iraq and Iran, but more important for the plan, also from Lebanon and Syria. To a part of the city where the Syrian pilgrims hawked their goods upon the streets, Joseph the Jew led the 12-year-old boy David, looking for one who would fit his plan.
Knives of steel, good knives of steel, cheap knives of steel.
Peace, good pilgrim, peace.
Peace unto you, my brother. Feel the blade, my brother. I'll let you have it cheap.
It is a good blade, but I do not need one.
Then why do you stop me?
To ask from what land you come to our holy Mecca.
From Syria, my friend, from the city of Damascus.
From Damascus? Then you are the very one.
The very one?
My brother, it is fate that leads me to you.
Fate? It may be so, but for what purpose?
This boy, whom I hold by the hand, is also from Damascus.
And what has that to do with me? Go, old man, and leave me in peace. Knives of steel!
My brother, listen to me. I will pay you well.
Pay me for what?
For the act of mercy you will perform. This boy, his parents perished in a fire which swept the mosque but yesterday. Will you take him back to Damascus with you?
It is enough for me to care for my wives and my many children.
I will pay you well. More than you need to feed him.
Is he strong? You a strong boy? You're not sick?
I am not sick, sir.
Can you care for a camel?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can care for a camel.
That's a long way to Damascus, boy, and the camels are for the women. Are you sure you're strong enough to walk?
Strong enough to walk? Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sure I'm strong enough to walk.
For a month, David walked with the Syrian pilgrims northward through the Arabian Peninsula. There was food, thanks to Joseph's generosity, and there were kindly people around him. But now the enemy was fear. Fear that his secret would become known and he would be turned back. In the 6th month of his journey, David Ben Ezra crossed the border of the kingdom of Jordan with thousands of Muslim pilgrims. Under cover of night, he slipped away from the Syrian pilgrims with whom he had come. Under cover of night, he began to walk the width of Jordan. And now the words he spoke to himself were words of hope.
Soon, soon, soon.
And he told himself,
it is near now. It is near now. It is near now.
And only the smallest voice said,
just one more border. Only one. But that is the best guarded of all.
It was to the city of Aqaba that he went, as Joseph had told him he must. And one night in the 7th month since he had left the land of Yemen, he crouched on the rim of the Gulf of Aqaba and looked across the dark waters to the lights of Elat in the land of Israel.
Oh, Mother. Oh, my mother. Help me now.
Silently he waited till the last lights of Elat were gone. And then David Ben Ezra began to run, as fast and as silently as he could. His mouth went dry and his heart pounded inside his small chest, and he clutched the gold star at his throat, and his voice raised itself in a prayer.
Not the last border. Please, not the last border.
And as he ran, he remembered to whom he prayed. He remembered the words the old man Joseph had taught him.
Please, not the last border. Lord God of Israel, not the last border.
For more than an hour he ran, until he was almost sure he had reached the land of his fathers.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no. Please, please, Almighty God.
Not to that moment did he see who pursued him. Not to that moment did he see the flag flying from the guard tower. A flag with the Star of David.
Here! I am here! This way! This way! This way!
They took him to Israeli army headquarters at Eilat, and he told his story. The unbelievable story of a child who had walked almost 1,300 miles to be in Jerusalem for the 13th spring of his life. But to the commander at Eilat, the story was believable. Perhaps he remembered certain other Jews who wandered for 40 years in the desert to reach the land of Israel.
Well, David, we'll see that you're in Jerusalem tomorrow.
In Jerusalem tomorrow? But I can't walk that fast.
Your little walk is over, son. We'll send you there by jeep.
Jeep?
An automobile, David. You'll ride to Jerusalem.
But I don't want to ride to Jerusalem. I must walk to Jerusalem.
You must... Why?
Because that was my mother's wish, that I walk to Jerusalem.
David, your mother didn't mean that you had to walk. She meant that she wanted you to be there.
Shafika told me. She said walk. I want to walk the rest of the way.
The word went out. From army post to army post, through the Negev, David Ben Ezra walked, escorted by patrols of Israeli soldiers. Northwards he walked, from Eilat, where King Solomon mined for copper, to Beersheba, where his ancestor Abraham tended cattle, to the gates of Jerusalem, the city of David, after whom he had been named. And in the 13th spring of his life, David had come home. It is a true story, and when I hear his voice, I think always, it's a long walk to Jerusalem. But the voice of David Ben Ezra means more than that to me, for it seems to me that every man carries his own Jerusalem in his heart, his own city of brotherhood, his city of love, his city of peace. And when I'm discouraged or fearful of tomorrow, I think of David Ben Ezra. For it's a long walk to Jerusalem, a hard walk. But if you have the faith and patience, you can get there. You can get there.
And now we take great pleasure in presenting Dr. Harry Orlinsky, Professor of Bible at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion in New York City. Dr. Orlinsky.
It was indeed a long walk for David from Yemen to Jerusalem. Yet to those who have studied the Bible and Jewish history, little David's walk is not really surprising or unique. As David's story was unfolding, I was reminded of another walk that the pitiful but proud remnants of a once great sovereign people made just about 2,500 years ago, the trek of a few thousand Jews in Babylonian captivity. Unable to contain themselves in a prosperous and sophisticated land, now set free by the Persian government of Cyrus the Great, they set forth along the Fertile Crescent from the land of their Babylonian exile to the land of their Judean fathers. For them, too, there were barren mountains and parched valleys, birds of prey and thirst. But faith and patience can surmount much. The prophet Isaiah knew this when he exhorted his fellow Judean exiles in the famous chapter of consolation to prepare for the return to Jerusalem. He said, "A voice calls out in the wilderness, prepare the Lord's highway, make straight in the desert a road to our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall be made low." This was the first time in history that a conquered and uprooted people regained its sovereignty. And the long walk to Jerusalem was not to be achieved again by anyone until the Jews of Poland and Lithuania, of Russia and Romania, of the concentration camps, and the very doors of the crematoria accomplished once again this fabulous feat of faith and patience, this determined denial that they were but a fossil of an extinct society. On the eve of this 8th year of Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day, let all the peoples of the Near East understand that the long walk from Yemen to Jerusalem signifies literally also the long walk from feudalism to democracy, from slavery to freedom.
Thank you, Dr. Orlinsky. Our Eternal Light drama today was It's a Long Walk to Jerusalem, written by Mark Siegel, and based on a story by Miriam Bly Grotto entitled 1 Foot from Yemen to Israel, which appeared in the Jewish Horizon magazine, published by Hapoel HaMizrachi of America. Today's broadcast was presented in celebration of the 8th anniversary of the establishment of the State of Israel. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Roy Shield. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Featured in the cast were David Pepper, Abby Lewis, Burford Hampton, Louis Van Ruten, Edward Jerome, and Roger de Koven. The singer, Hannah Amsterdam Klekfeld, and the narrator, Alexander Scourby. This is Mel Brandt, and this has been an NBC Radio Network production, directed by Daniel Sutter. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's program, A Man Is Not a Thing, is by Rhea Weinstein.
When I awoke, I knew the dawn had broken. Beyond the curtain and the blind and the shutter, I knew the sky was growing light. My wife was asleep beside me in the small, clean room of our hotel in Haifa. I don't know what woke me. It wasn't the heat. It would be cool for a few hours yet. Perhaps I was restless because I knew the ship was out there in the bay. It would dock in the morning. Yom Tov Shabbat was on that boat. Yom Tov and 740 more Moroccan Jews from Casablanca by way of Marseille. I found his name on the passenger list at the offices of the Jewish Agency. It was ironic that on the last day of our visit to Israel, I should finally find the man I'd been hoping to meet all along. I'd looked for him in every kibbutz, every settlement, every cafe we visited, and even on every bus we boarded. When we toured Jerusalem, I could hardly pay attention to what our guide was saying because I kept one eye open for Yom Tov. He had said he was going to Jerusalem, and I believed him. Let's see, how old must he be now? He was about 16 then. That was 1942 in Casablanca. Casablanca, broiling in the sun, chilly in the shade. November 1942. The German army was expected. It was rumored in the ghetto that the Vichy French were preparing a welcome, a small courtesy that would endear them to the conqueror. A massacre of the Jews. In earlier times, when a people grew bitter and angry, it was policy in some countries to turn upon the strangers in their midst, the Jews. After the murderous purge, the populace was quieted for a while, and Jews everywhere in the world felt another layer of fear being packed away in the marrow of their bones. Now it was the Nazis' turn. A miracle was needed for the Jews of Casablanca. A miracle happened. It was not the Germans who came, it was the American army. One day, some American boys went sightseeing.
Look at that guy sitting cross-legged playing his flute. Just like in the movies.
He's selling something. What is that stuff, I wonder?
Spices, I think. Look at him. A bundle of rags and bones.
He's just a kid.
Don't you wish we could talk to him?
Maybe we can.
How? Can you speak Arabic?
What makes you think he's an Arab? This is the Mellah, the ghetto.
You mean he's a Jew?
I don't know, but they say when you're in a foreign country and you don't know the language, try Yiddish.
Johnny, you're a genius. Let's try it. Hey, boy. Fella? Hey, mister. What do you call these guys, anyway?
Search me. Try, hey, you.
Okay. Hey, you.
Good. Comment?
Comment? Hey, that's French.
How's your French, Al?
Terrible, like my Yiddish. You try, Johnny.
Wait a minute. Yiddish isn't their language. These are Sephardic Jews.
Well, what then?
Maybe Hebrew, French, Arabic, I don't know.
Well, let's try. Sholem Aleichem.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Hey, we're getting someplace, Johnny.
Ami Yehudi.
Yehudi. That's it. He understands.
Israelite? American?
You bet your life. We saw him many times after that, as often as we could. We struggled along in tortured French, scanty Hebrew, and some English that Yom Tov picked up. Gestures helped, but it was the mutual goodwill that saw us through. One day he took us sightseeing.
Don't go there, Excellency. Don't go into that dark alley.
Why not, Yom Tov? Don't people live there? Well, why do they call you Yom Tov? And for goodness sake, stop calling me Excellency.
You're confusing him. One question at a time. He's still afraid of you.
Afraid of me?
Yes, you're pretty noisy, you know.
So I make a lot of noise. Is that right, an Excellency?
The uniform adds weight to the sound. In this part of the world, the people are divided into two parts, the master and the slaves. Being a Jew makes you anybody's slave, automatically.
What a deal. Boy, give me Brooklyn anytime. I'd show this kid something.
Don't go down this alley, please.
Why not? What's different about this one? Smells just the same, if not worse, than any other alley in the Mellah.
It's the animals.
Is this where the animals are kept?
Some of the families keep animals.
Animals? And people, too?
I wouldn't be surprised if they all lived together.
Oh, yes, all live together.
In one house?
Sometimes in one room.
Wow.
And no water.
Oh, we can buy water. Oh, look out, sir!
Hey, you miserable bum! Why don't you look where you're going?
Oh, you called him a bad name. He would have killed you if he knew.
Oh, the wheels of his cart almost ran over my foot.
It is the water carrier. He would have killed you if he knew.
If he knew what?
If he knew you were Jews. In this country, Jews may not wear uniforms. Thank God he did not know.
Why can't Jews wear uniforms here?
They aren't citizens. They're subjects of the Sultan. What the Sultan says is law. There's no appeal.
They sure get pushed around. I'd like to see anyone try to push me around.
In your country, they do not spit on you?
Spit on me? Look, I'm a person, a human being. I'm not a thing to be spat upon and pushed around.
Relax, buddy. Nobody's doing anything to you. Take it easy.
Yom Tov, you listen to me. If anybody spits on you, if anybody pushes you around, you let him have it, do you hear? Like this. Pow! Right in the mouth. Look at him. He's laughing.
That's the first time I've heard him laugh.
that Brooklyn, it must be a fine place.
Well, I hope you'll come to Brooklyn someday. Yom Tov will teach you to stand up and fight for your rights.
Fight? With a gun?
No. No gun. Maybe with a boat. A voice and how things should be run for your own benefit.
Yom Tov doesn't have to go to Brooklyn. He can go to Palestine if he's looking to stand up and fight. There's plenty of fight there.
I don't care where he goes, so long as he doesn't get pushed around as if he were a thing. He's got to learn that he's a man. A man is not a thing.
Look, the water carrier has sold all the water.
You mean you have to buy it?
Yes, by the skinful.
No plumbing, no sanitation.
Don't remind me. Let's get out of here.
Does it cost a lot for the family?
Not so much. We are fewer since my father died. He was older than 30 years when he died. We use the water first for drinking and cooking, then for hand washing and prayers. Then the dishes are washed in it. Then my mother washes the clothes in it. Then she scrubs...
Oh, let's get out of here. Come on, this place must be hundreds of years old.
Hundreds? You mean thousands. Jews have been in these parts since the time of the Second Temple.
Fine. But this Jew is getting out right now.
Yom Tov, can you take us to the newer part?
There are new buildings on the other side.
They say not more than 300 years old.
Johnny, come on, will you? Let's get out of here.
Wait! I want to ask Yom Tov something.
Yes?
Listen, Yom Tov. Have you ever heard of a stone, a rock, a big rock with carving on it, about a captain in King David's army?
King David's army?
The King David of the Bible. You read about him in Chumash.
That's Palestine, isn't it, Johnny?
No. I'm talking about Morocco, right here. There's a boulder somewhere in these parts with an inscription showing the Jews were a conquering army a couple of 1,000 years ago. There was a Jewish Berber queen, too.
Oh, come off it, Johnny. Let's go.
Yom Tov, would you like to come with us to see that rock?
Aren't you forgetting something? We're fighting a war, you know. Don't you know there's a war on, fella?
I know.
Well, what are you going to do? Go to the general and say, please, sir, may I go off on a safari?
If you don't make a big noise about it, maybe something can be done. We don't have to go by camel, you know. A jeep would bring us there in no time.
Oh, no, you don't. You're not getting me mixed up in this. I won't go.
Al, listen. We'll go to the chaplain, to Rabbi Mahler. I talked to him yesterday. Maybe he can make a pilgrimage. or something.
This dust is killing me. Is it much further, Rabbi?
I think it's farther south. If you didn't drive like a maniac, you wouldn't raise so much dust.
Well, I want to get there.
So do we all. Slow down, you'll pass it. Stop.
What's the trouble, Rabbi? No trouble. I think this is the place. Let's have a look. Okay, everybody, pile out.
Come on, Yom Tov. We're here.
Look at him. He's glued to the spot. He's scared to death.
So would you be if this was your first car ride. In a jeep at that. Come, Yom Tov. It's okay. We're all going into the field to see the carving on the rock.
I did not know how it would be.
Was it rough?
Like an earthquake and a dust storm all in one.
Well, now you've had a jeep ride. Come, let's follow the others.
Do the Americans fight always with jeeps? I think they will win all the wars.
It is.
It is! This is it!
Here it is. I, Joab, son of Zeruiah, drove the Philistines to this point. This is it? But we traveled all this way to see this rock?
Doesn't it make you feel good to know that once the Jews had powerful kings?
It makes me feel good.
Oh, we didn't have to come here for that. I knew it from the Bible stories.
But here, look, touch it. Evidence. Hard as a rock. It isn't a legend. It's the real thing. It's been here thousands of years. Isn't it wonderful? King David's army, all the way to here. A Jewish king came here.
His army came here to this point.
From Jerusalem?
No, from...
I am going to Jerusalem.
Nusea Atal Yerushalayim?
Yes, I am going to Jerusalem.
Matai Nusea Atal Yerushalayim?
Someday. Soon. It is written in the prayer book. Every morning I say it. And my father said it. And all our grandfathers.
What does it say in the prayer book, Yom Tov? Tell us.
Sound the great shofar for our liberation. Raise thou the banner for the ingathering of the exiles, and assemble them from the four corners of the earth. Praised be thou, O Lord, who gathereth in the dispersed.
You're probably right, Yom Tov. Someday you may go to Jerusalem.
There is a Jewish king there?
Not a king exactly, but perhaps someday a Jewish president. And that is even better.
I will fall on my knees and kiss his hand.
That will not be necessary, Yom Tov. You can stand up. The time is fast coming when a Jew can stand up in Israel.
And the land will be flowing with milk and honey.
Milk and honey. Milk and honey.
No, Palestine was not flowing with milk and honey. They tried to tell Yom Tov what was happening there. The Jewish men and women had thrown themselves into the war against Hitler with maniacal fervor. The doctors, nurses, personnel, the suicide squads at Tobruk. It helped to ease the hurt that lay deep in their bones. It helped to ease the smarting wounds and to pay in part a score that could never be paid in full. And still, a Jew could not stand up in the land of Palestine. At last, the terrible war was over. The war was won. The Redeemer saw the face of the redeemed. The reconstruction began. America poured her help into every jagged ruin, be it man or thing. The Jews counted their dead and asked themselves, what now? And they turned toward the east. It was too soon. Another enemy lay there, snarling and growling, ready to spring. And spring he did, time after bloody time. There was work to be done, so much work. The years of bitter struggle bore sweet fruit. There came a day like no other day since the world began. It was a day of wonderment for Jews in every land. Tel Aviv, Friday, the 5th day of Iyar, 5708, May 14th, 1948, at 4:06 p.m. The Republic of Israel is born. It was heard around the world. In Casablanca, Yom Tov Shabbat heard it, and the dream that had been lighted in him by those American Army engineers burned brightly. He showed the heart of this dream to others, and they learned from him.
Children! Children! This day, a new era begins. The era of the ingathering of the exiles. It is time for the morning prayer. Please rise and face the east. Repeat after me. Sound the great shofar for our liberation.
Sound the great shofar for our liberation.
Raise thou the banner for the ingathering of the exiles.
Raise thou the banner for the ingathering of the exiles.
And assemble them from the four corners of the earth.
And assemble them from the four corners of the earth.
Praised be thou, O Lord, who gathereth in the dispersed.
Praised be thou, O Lord, who gathereth in the dispersed.
Those of you who are to receive eye treatments today will line up on the right. Those of you who are to receive scalp treatments, go to the left. We will march down to the new clinic in orderly fashion, so they will know we are not savages. When you come back to the classroom, you will receive a glass of milk. All those who are well and healthy will go to Israel. That is why we do not complain if it hurts a little. You understand? Very well. 1, 2, march. Oh, do not put your hands on the beautiful fresh walls.
The American Joint Distribution Committee had established a health and welfare program. The Alliance Israélite started schools. The Jewish Agency provided personnel. The Jews of North Africa were bridging a gap of 2,000 years. It was not an easy thing to do. A nurse in white uniform with a hypodermic needle in her hand was so very different from the native doctor in the hills who slit a baby's skin to let the malady escape. Had these people known what the years held in store for them, they would have learned faster, studied harder.
Yom Tov, Yom Tov.
Quiet, don't you see our night class is in session?
They are burning Jewish shops. Run for your lives.
Wait, David. We do not run. Students, there's trouble in the town. We shall put out the lights and wait quietly for as long as is necessary. When it's safe to walk the streets, we will leave 2 at a time in intervals, the same as last time. David, please, put out the light. Thank you. Students, tonight I shall tell you the story of the 2 American engineers and how people vote in America. Voting is a matter for all. All men and women have a chance to declare themselves. In America, all men and women are considered equal.
When a Muslim and a Frenchman fight, a Jewish head gets broken.
That surely. It is easier to vent one's anger on a man who has no gun.
This land is no longer safe for us. The Lord chastiseth whom he loves.
Let us hear what the young man is saying.
And in Pétion, 7 Jews killed, 16 wounded. Wounded and killed in burnings in Marrakesh. In Masagan, 26 Jewish houses burnt. In the small town of Ouedzem, 3 killed, 10 stores burnt, 3 homes. Quetzand, Safi, Boujad, same story everywhere.
This is a black year for us.
I have called you here for a purpose. Listen to me. The gates of Israel are open to all.
To an old one like me?
And a blind one like me?
To all, I said. Old and young, sick and well, rich and poor. Israel has declared an emergency. The gates are open.
And how will we go to Israel? On a velvet carpet in the sky, no doubt. Or perhaps the angel Gabriel will come.
The Jewish agency will pay the costs for all. We will go by boat to Marseille. We will stay at the Aliyah camp for a few days, then sail for Israel, and go to our temporary village as soon as we arrive. All families and relatives will be kept together. While we are learning to use the tools and the land, we will be paid a daily wage. Then we go to our permanent settlement, every man to his trade where needed.
Yom Tov and his stories. Soon he will tell us about the voting.
We want refuge.
We want food and shelter for our families. Who cares about his everlasting vote?
Listen to me. You are going from the frying pan into the fire. There is fighting in Israel. They are surrounded by enemies on all sides, both at home and abroad.
That is true. But where else have we so much to defend? The gates are open. The home is waiting. There's land to cultivate, food for all, and freedom.
Freedom. Freedom to fight and to die.
Freedom to defend yourself. And if you survive, to live in dignity. You and your children's children forever.
Listen to him. He does not talk like a fool.
Hey, Yom Tov, you are coming with us?
Yes, I will come. My work here is finished. I will go to Jerusalem. To Jerusalem.
Darling, wake up. It's late.
Hmm?
Ruth?
What time is it?
Nearly 7 o'clock. The boat's coming in.
There goes the construction crew. Off to the suburbs. Don't they ever stop building? Open the shutters, dear, please.
Ruth, I mustn't miss Yom Tov. Hurry, honey, please.
The ship will be there all day.
No. Today's Friday. They'll probably hurry the people through and load them into the trucks so they can get to Lahish early in time to get settled before the Sabbath.
50,000 North African Jews arrive in 1 year, and you're concerned with one refugee you hardly know.
Yom Tov is not just a refugee. He's a pilgrim. And I feel I know him well. I know the heart of a pilgrim.
Yes, I think you do. Oh, what a heavenly day. Look at Mount Carmel out there, shining in the sun.
You'll look at it later. Come on.
I wonder what your pilgrim will do here. Work? Fight?
Let's ask him. Come on. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Meet me at the dock.
Well, how will you find him?
I'll find him. I'll have him paged.
Is this your man, sir? I found him in the immigrant shed having tea.
Oh. Thank you.
Here is Yom Tov Shabbat, Casablanca.
Yom Tov? Do you remember me? You know who I am?
Shalom. Ani Yehudi.
Yom Tov. How are you? How are you, Yom Tov? You look wonderful.
I am magnificent.
I told my wife to meet us here. There she is. Ruth. Honey. No, she won't believe it. He speaks English. He's going to teach. What are you going to teach, Yom Tov?
Your favorite subject. That man is not a thing. A man is God's work.
Hello.
Ruth, meet a pilgrim.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27, New York. And now we take great pleasure in presenting Mr. Saul Margolis of Boston, Regional Chairman of Northern New England for the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Mr. Margolis.
A man is not a thing. Man is God's Word. This line at the end of our Eternal Light story today points out so simply, yet so strongly, the fundamental fact which forms the basis of all human aspiration. Man is unique in God's creation. Each man on this earth was created with a purpose. We are part of a cosmic plan. This idea of the ultimate was discussed in the first book of the Bible, in the book of Genesis. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Man then is not an item, a commodity, a piece of goods which can be bought, sold, or otherwise possessed. We are unique. We are created in the image of God. This very concept is at the foundation of American law and action. In our history, we have evolved a way of life which directs us as individuals and as a people to translate this idea into a daily pattern of life. The central question today for Americans is this: how can we best transmit to the peoples of other lands that which we have developed in our own? The two soldiers in our drama today stand out as products of our way of life. Through talking, exchanging ideas, and just knowing the young lad in Casablanca, they pointed out the uniqueness of being a man, not a thing. But talk and description seems inadequate. We will have to find a way through our action to teach the peoples abroad that we have been able to teach our own people here. I know no greater challenge to man. I know no greater opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Margolis. Our Eternal Light drama today, A Man Is Not a Thing, was written by Rhea Weinstein. The music was written by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Roy Shield. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Featured in the cast were Mandel Kramer, Edward Asner, Ronald Liss, Roger DeKoven, Bob Hastings, Edwin Jerome, Guy Rep, Billy and Bert Harris, and Rita Lloyd. The narrator, Alexander Scorby. This is Mel Brandt. This has been an NBC Radio Network production, directed by Daniel Sutter. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, the program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, The Ceder and the Reed, was written by Peter Barry.
My name is Yitzchak Ben Jonah, and I'm a rabbi. Now, there's no need to scratch your head and try to remember me. I am, let us say, a humble servant, content to do my daily best without any undue recognition. But I must confess to just a tinge of chagrin at the enthusiasm aroused by my announcement that Rabbi Simeon Ben Eliezer was on his way to visit our community.
No, it isn't true. He isn't actually coming.
I have received a letter signed by his hand. He arrives tomorrow.
Oh, blessed day.
How we shall be honored.
I.
He is a rabbi of the highest renown.
At last, a truly great man shall walk amongst us.
You will instruct us in our manners, will you not, Yitzhak Ben Jonah? I'm quite sure he will expect no more of you than that you conduct yourself with seemly and reverent deportment.
Rabbi.
Yes?
Is there something the matter?
No. There's nothing the matter at all. And nothing was the matter. I was already reproving myself for having felt even a pang of such an unworthy emotion. I was delighted, I told myself. I was resolved to be delighted. And yet, at all events, the village bestirred itself with desperate haste to make ready for the celebrated visitor. The next day was beautiful, as Rabbi Eliezer and his scribe, Judah ben Gamaliel, had slowed their donkeys to an ambling walk as they skirted the road leading to the village.
Could anything be less than lovely on such a morn, Judah?
Good sirs and Lord and masters,
What was that?
give alms to the poor ere you journey forth hence, and heaven will reward you with youngsters and pens.
It is a baker yonder at the roadside, Ben Eliezer. See him raising his hat?
I see.
Good sirs and Lord and masters.
Your question is answered, Master. There can be unlovely things on the fairest of mornings.
Verily and truth. Amazing how ugly the children of our father Abraham can be. What have I said?
Rabbi, what ails you?
Need you ask?
You've gone pale as death.
I pale at the carelessness of my own tongue.
You have said nothing untrue. Heaven knows he's not a pretty sight to look upon.
And heaven knows as well that he is a man, created in the image of the eternal goodness. Help me down, Judah.
Down? Wherefore?
Is it not apparent? I must beg this poor soul's pardon for my heedless words.
But he heard them not.
It is enough that I have heard them.
But Ben Eliezer...
Judah, help me down.
Alms, my lord, alms, good sirs, alms for a poor but honest...
My friend.
Huh?
Forgive me.
What say you?
I say, forgive me.
Upon what cause do you say to a perfect stranger, forgive me?
I have wronged you greatly.
You have wronged me. I never laid eyes on you before.
Nay, but when I laid eyes on you just now, I spoke to my companion yonder, saying, amazing how ugly the children of our father Abraham can be.
Well, so what of it?
What of it? Perhaps you heard not what I said.
I heard, and what of it, say I? Think you it's news to me that I'm ugly? The world has scarcely made a secret of my ugliness.
I do not truly think you ugly.
Well, then you must be blind, or mad, or both. See here, old man, I'm well known round about as Mesha, the homely one.
You are known as such?
Aye.
By whom?
Why, by all the people of my village. There's another man is Udal the shoemaker, or Mihol the baker. I am Mesha the homely.
And you tell me this without resentment?
Resentment? Why should I resent it? Is it not true on the face of things?
Truth, my brother, lies rarely on the face of things.
I don't know what you mean.
Is it possible that human dignity can be so buried?
I'll be going now, will you, and let there be an end of this.
I will go when you forgive me, Mesha.
There's nothing to forgive.
But there is, and I humbly beg your mercy.
Yes. If you'll put a few coins in my hat, then I may see my way clear to do whatever you want of me.
My purse is yours, Misha, but what I want cannot be bought or sold. Forgiveness of man by man is a thing that is freely given.
So, all that I'm to get from you is talk, is that it?
Please.
On your way.
Hearken.
I've hearkened enough. Now, go and leave me be.
Say that you forgive me.
Look, I'll say to you that you have not wronged me, so let that suffice.
How can it suffice when I know that I have?
It cannot be that you have. If you wrong me, why, then I'm wronged by everyone, every day I live.
And that may well be true.
No, I'll hear no more from you. Why, God, have you to come interrupting a man in an honest day's begging? Out of my sight, say I.
Forgive me first for my foul transgression.
If it be so foul, I'll not forgive you until you go to the artist who made me and say, how ugly is the implement you've made.
Misha.
And furthermore, if you won't move, I will.
Oh, wait, brother, wait.
Rabbi.
Tell me I'm forgiven.
Oh, will nothing discourage him?
How far will you go with this Ben Eliezer?
As far as I must.
Peace, let him go his way.
He has gone his way too long. I beg you, my son, forgive me.
Not to save your life.
I urge you.
Put the hope from your mind.
I plead. I beseech.
Is it not enough that you have wronged me as you have? Will you not at least stop hounding me?
Not save you pardon me.
As the minutes ticked by, the sun had climbed steadily into the heavens. Here and there, a child had begun to wail, and the watchers in the village square were on the point of asking themselves if their illustrious visitor would never arrive, when abruptly 3 hurrying figures appeared around the dusty bend of the road.
Oh, is it he?
Indeed, I know not.
Ask Rabbi Jonah.
Aye, that is Simeon ben Eliezer.
Oh, happy day. Oh, day of glory.
How like a saint he looked. How magnificent he sits astride his donkey.
But that is not Ben Eliezer.
What?
Not astride the donkey.
No?
No. Ben Eliezer is walking. The second man in line.
Strange.
Most strange.
Who is that first man?
Yes, who is he?
He looks somehow familiar.
Little wonder he looks familiar.
What do you mean?
That's Mesha the homely.
Mesha the homely?
Is it really Mesha?
How could that coat be mistaken anywhere?
Of course it's he. Oh, I don't understand. Simeon ben Eliezer seems to be following him.
Reasoning with him, pleading with him.
Can this actually be happening? I don't know if it can, but it is.
What do you make of it, Rabbi Yitzchok?
I'm at a loss to say anything. Save that it's time to go forward and greet our distinguished guest.
Welcome to our village.
Welcome, Simeon ben Eliezer.
We greet thee, Master.
Master? Master, someone said?
Aye, Mesha, even so.
Quick, out of the way, man.
Well, whom do you address as master?
Him who is walking behind you.
That? He's a master?
Aye.
Then may there not be many like him in Israel.
What?
What said he? May there not be many like him in Israel, he said.
God forbid the insolence of the beggar.
I said it and I meant it.
Silence him.
Grab him! We'll teach him the price of affronting Simeon ben Eliezer.
Grab him! Let me go. Let me...
Peace, my children, my brethren.
He did insult you, master.
If you would serve me, let him go.
But he...
Oblige me in this, my good brother.
Well, now, maybe you're the ones who ought to learn.
Shall he utter such evil and go unpunished?
If there be evil here, 'tis of my doing. Yours. The transgression and the guilt are both my own.
But surely...
You must not harm him now or later, lest one man be punished for another's sin.
Let me understand this. Simeon ben Eliezer has sinned?
I tell you so, and you may take my...
Oh, what
is he?
He's saying. Quickly, support him.
Make way, stand back.
Who are you?
Judah ben Gamaliel the scribe. My master is no stripling that he can walk 3 miles in the sun on the heels of an obstinate beggar.
Now I'm obstinate.
Please.
Aye, that you are.
In the name of heaven, make matters no worse. I bid thee hold thy peace, good Judah. It will help me to my quarters.
It was scarcely the arrival we'd envisioned. As I led the way for the master and his scribe, there was more relief than dismay in my heart. This was the man before whose wisdom and virtue I, Yitzhak ben Jonah, was to have bent. A sinner self-confessed. Well, the truth had supplanted the legend before the eyes of all. And though I sorrowed in my heart for Ben Eliezer's grief and guilt, I knew there was no need to bend now. Shall I deny I was gratified that I could stand again as ever, uneclipsed before my villagers, as straight and upright and unyielding as the cedar of the forest? Such were my thoughts as I saw Ben Eliezer safely disposed on a couch in his quarters, and turned to take my leave.
Our thanks and gratitude, good Rabbi Jonah.
I am honored to have been of use to you, and I trust a little rest will soon restore Simeon Ben Eliezer.
Fret you not upon me. I shall be better presently.
It were well you were, master. The feasting in your honor begins at sunset.
Feasting?
Aye.
Think you I would feast this day?
What mean you?
Surely you would not turn away from the hospitality of these good people.
Surely a man shall not feast when his lips are bitter with the salt of unworthiness.
I say you err in this.
Say you so, Judah?
I say you forget yourself and your bounden duty.
My duty?
To go amongst the people and to teach them. Is this not your sacred task?
Aye, it is. And do I not teach them better this way, by precept of my penitence?
If I may say so, the villagers anticipate with much pleasure the honor of breaking bread with you. And
I can think of one villager who would find little pleasure in breaking bread with me, brother.
Who?
Your neighbor, Mesha.
Mesha?
Aye.
He would not break bread with you in any case.
Oh, would he not?
He is not invited to our gatherings.
Nay.
Therefore, would you not reconsider and sit amongst my flock?
My thanks, but no. Consider the example I would set by exhorting them to virtue, while I, the teacher, feast myself unforgiven.
Unforgiven?
Aye.
You are still intent that beggars shall forgive you?
There shall be no feast for me unless he does, Judah, son of Gamaliel.
If Simeon Ben Eliezer's coming had been a disappointment to the people of my village, the news I bore from the master's quarters came as a calamity.
He will not feast with us, say you?
Nay, he will not, says he, unless Mesha the homely forgive him this transgression he's committed.
Why, then let him forgive it, and at once.
He is not so disposed.
How dare he be disposed or undisposed, that squint-eyed, potato-nosed monster?
Peace, my children. Were Mesha twice as ugly as he is, if such a thought is possible, he still would have the right, when deeply injured, to grant forgiveness or withhold.
But does he not know that by his obstinacy he deprives us of an honor that may not come again?
What does he care about our honors? Since he has no part in them, he just as soon destroy them as preserve them.
Aye, the selfish gargoyle. Had I my way, I'd change his mind for him.
But you'll not have your way, Ben Solomon. There'll be no violence here.
Hold on a moment.
Wherefore?
He cares not for our honors, Selma said. But suppose now that we made our honors his.
What mean you?
Suppose that we invited Mesha to the feast.
At first there was only silence. Then, like the breaking of a storm, debate flared forth. But from the start, the conclusion was foregone. Surely the best chance of dissuading Mesha from destroying our feast was to include him amongst the feasters. When the delegation approached, he was sitting in the doorway of his hovel, sorting rags. But he looked up with sharp-eyed distrust as I issued the invitation.
And what's your purpose, friends?
Purpose?
What do you mean, Mesha?
You know what I mean. What do you want in return?
Why, nothing at all.
Nothing.
Of course not. We like you, Mesha.
You like me.
There'll be sweet fresh figs and a cask of wine, and we want you to enjoy them with us.
Oh.
And, by the way, we'd be pleased if you'd forgive Simeon Ben Eliezer.
Oh, by the way, that's your cause and your reason. Of course, I should have known. Well, I'll tell you now, and I tell you clear, I'll forgive him when I get ready.
But, Mesha...
Your feast. You can take your feast with my blessing. Do you think I'm a creature who's to be bought for a handful of figs and a cup of wine?
Now, see here.
Hold your impudent tongue.
Don't defend us too far, I warn you.
In the name of mercy, stop this thing. Mesha does not offend us. It is we who have offended him. Of course he's not to be bought for a handful of figs. And it was this that we have tried to do here. This precisely. As if he were not a man with a right to make choices of his own.
If he's a man, then let him act like one and forgive Ben Eliezer.
Let him act like one, you say. But have we ever paused to treat him like one?
She's right. We do ourselves no credit here. Besides, Mesha has made it clear that he will not forgive Ben Eliezer. So let us take our departure.
Rabbi, it's wrong.
Aye?
You quoted me a little incorrectly. I said I'd forgive him when I got ready.
Well, isn't that the same thing?
Except that if he'll come and apologize to me in the village square, I may be ready now.
Oh, does he really mean it?
I think he does. Do you jest with us, Misha?
No.
You will really do this thing?
Aye.
Wherefore, Misha?
Because as a man with a right to make choices of his own, I choose to.
And Simeon ben Eleazar apologized to Mesha the beggar. In front of all the village, he stood before him with clasped hands.
I do indeed with all my heart regret the evil that I did you, and my soul shall be forever in your debt, if you will grant me pardon and forgiveness.
And Mesha lowered his eyes to the cobblestones as he pardoned and forgave. And a cheer went up to the setting sun, and the housewives scampered away to spread the banquet table. Gloom departed from the village like a raven taking flight, and Ben Eleazar straightened his shoulders as though a heavy burden had fallen from them, and strode off to his quarters to prepare for the feast. It was then that I noted Mesha standing apart and by himself, and suddenly the need to know the truth laid an irresistible hand on me. Before I was fully aware of what I had done, I had crossed to his side and spoken.
What difference now it's over, Yitzhak ben Jonah?
I want to know. I need to know.
Why?
I can't say why, because I don't quite know. But tell me what it was. What was it he did to you?
Yeah, if you must know, he remarked upon my ugliness.
And?
And what?
What was it he did to you?
That's what he did to me. He remarked upon my ugliness.
Surely this was not all.
Shall I make up some more for you?
Do you mean to tell me that this was the sin of Ben Eleazar?
Why ask me? The word was his.
Yes. Yes, you're right. It was. I turned away from him and hurried down the street to the master's quarters. When I entered, Simeon ben Eleazar sat on the couch, studying a yellowed scroll. And at my words, he glanced up, his brows drawn together in a troubled furrow.
So he told you of my transgression.
Aye, but...
And you have come to chide me for it.
On the contrary, I've come to set your heart at rest.
Oh?
What you said of the man has been said 1,000 times and more. His nickname, master, is Mesha the Homely.
This I know.
You know?
Aye. But how shall it set my heart at rest? What I did was nonetheless an error, was it not?
If every common man may say a thing, is it an error if the great and lofty Simeon ben Eleazar says it also?
Aye, it is.
But wherefore?
It is the burden of a man upon whom the people look as a leader to realize that the greater he grows in their eyes, the greater are the errors of his making. By reason of his own dimensions, he lends them stature.
I see you clearly now. And I question that your virtue ever was or shall be much endangered.
It shall be endangered, my good friend, in the instant that I cease to question it. The truly virtuous are truly vigilant, realizing the power of their words for evil as well as good, and the greater their wisdom, the less tolerant are they of their own departures from righteousness.
But surely you are too intolerant of your own. How unrighteous can it be to repeat a thing all men say?
Does an evil thing become less evil merely because it is a custom? Shall I condone a wickedness within myself on the grounds that it exists in other men? When I fall short of my own insight into life, then do I count myself a sinner.
I could not, by any means, have done what you have done. I would have perished to have so humbled myself before a capricious beggar, to plead and bend before him.
Have you a fear of bending, then, my son?
I feared your coming, lest your brilliance should, by contrast, dim my little light. I feared you would eclipse me utterly in the eyes of my small flock. I feared to humble myself before you. Had you no fear of bending so low in the sight of all the world?
I shall begin to fear, brother, only when I cease to bend.
How mean you?
I mean your fears are the kind that lead a man into the endless wastes of fearing. My son, fear not to be as supple as the reed, but fear you like death, the rigidity of the lofty, upright cedar of the forest. Even though the four winds of the world ride forth, the reed bends with them and straightens when they have passed. And the end of the reed, it is considered worthy for the making of the pen that writes the Torah. But the cedar, in the wind's full blast, is uprooted, hurled upon its face, to lie in devastation until the coming of the woodsman and his axe. Bend you with the reed, then, and bless the Lord that you may do so. The feast, I think, is spread, Yitzhak ben Jonah.
And so at last Ben Eliezer came into the midst of my flock, and at his right hand he placed Mesha the beggar, and taught us from the pages of wisdom, saying,
And you shall walk after the Lord your God.
How can a man walk after the Lord?
This means that he must try to emulate his ways. As he is just, we must be just. As he is merciful, we must be merciful.
Yet how can a man emulate God's justice and mercy?
He must forever scrutinize his deeds to see wherein he falters. Every day he must repent his sins, for the way that leads to God is the way of penitence.
And Mesha listened like a child, bright and eagerly. And as I watched, I realized with a surge of my heart that Mesha's ugliness had all but disappeared.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we take great pleasure in presenting Congressman Herman Koppelman of Hartford, Connecticut, former member of the House of Representatives and member of the Executive Council of the United Synagogue. Congressman Koppelman.
Every one of us knows a Mesha. These Meshas of our acquaintance get little of our attention until at some moment they rise in their full dignity and demand that measure of respect which every human being deserves. At such moments, we are jolted out of our complacency and are compelled to look upon them as people of account. Most of us have something of Rabbi Yitzhak in us. Most of us are endowed with some quality of leadership or learning which causes others to look up to us, and often, in our pride of that leadership, we look down on others less endowed. But occasionally, we Yitzhaks come across the path of a Simeon ben Eleazar. At such times, we are taken aback, possibly awed, possibly humbled, and wonder what additional quality the Master has which sets him above us. What is it that makes a leader? Greater learning? Yes. The personality to command? Yes, that too. The ability to reach people? Yes. The capacity to take advantage of opportunity, to see ahead where opportunity leads? Yes. This also is a quality of great leadership. But there is something more. It is the acknowledgement that every person has dignity and is entitled to respect and love. Respect and love, not alone for what he does, but for what he is. It is not sufficient that a leader set an example by his conduct and his deeds. A leader must have the ability to analyze himself, to recognize wherein, within himself, he might fail to live up to the standards he would set for others. He must know that his thoughts and his intentions are as important as his words and his deeds. If a man would be a living image of God, he must be able to look inside himself, to answer to himself for every thought. His fellow men will judge him by his words and deeds, but only he himself knows whether his thoughts will stand the test that God would make.
Thank you, Congressman Koppelman. Our Eternal Light drama today, The Cedar and the Reed, was written by Peter Barry. The music was written by Morris Mamorsky and conducted by Roy Shields. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Featured in the cast were Guy Repp, Gregory Morton, Edgar Staley, Vera Allen, Roger DeKoven, Eleanor Phelps, Robert Hastings, and Bert Cowlin. This is Bill Hanrahan speaking. An NBC Radio Network production directed by Daniel Sutter. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. This is the NBC Radio Network.